Hello. Welcome to the Exatos.
So when my dad died, there was like my mom posted in the Sentinel, which I was like, okay, it sucks to have an obituary because my dad's a very private person, but it's the Sentinel, it's a newspaper. So no one's going to read it except for like 4 people who are about to die anyway, right? Except the way the newspaper works is that they publish it online. And so I'm sitting there looking on Facebook and all of a sudden there's my dad and there's the article shared to everybody and there's random people and it's like, my mom's a doctor who watches way too much Grey's Anatomy. So she knows that the reason strangers are reading obituaries isn't because they give a damn about the person. It's because they want to know how he died so they can avoid it too. So she's put in like at the very end, if you read the whole thing, the spoiler Easter eggs, which is like how he died so that you could try to avoid it if you're like 79 years old and live in Santa Cruz, which sucked. But that's normal, right? When people die, you get like weird little remembers. And so Slavic people will take the photos of our loved ones and we'll put them down or put them in drawers. Even though we love them, we just don't want to see them all the time. It's not even a ghost thing. A little bit. We'll leave the light on, right? My dad's light in his room hasn't been turned off a month now. Like it's just, we don't turn it off until it burns out. But with Oliver, like all week, every day, no matter what I do, anywhere I go, it's just pictures of Oliver all the time. Like it's just everything you see on Instagram, Facebook, X, doesn't matter, Rumble, YouTube. It's just like, it's so crazy. True. And I hadn't thought about it before, but it's like, I have a lot of, I made that song about, I'm sick of of taking selfies with all my dead friend celebrities because I've got all these photos and I don't mean to do it on purpose. I didn't want to put out a photo of me with Oliver. I put out like a hole-in-one video because I was just shocked, but I didn't want to just be like, here, look, see, I know famous people who die. That sucks. That's like the worst thing about me in a weird way. I don't want to, that's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? And with Charlie Kirk, I posted the picture of him with me while he was still alive. Like he had just been shot and I was like, everybody pray for him. But he died right away. So, or at least allegedly. So now everyone, it's like, here you go. Here's proof that Andreas hangs out with famous people who die. It sucks. I hate it. So I hate
out of the 3 of us, I feel a little bit lucky. I think I'm the only one that doesn't have a photo with you in person. So maybe I avoid the Final Destination curse.
It's possible, but you're a Freemason. So I think that should be okay. I'd love to do a deep dive into Oliver because when we first made short films, like he was not, old yet. Like, and by the time he was 17, 18, he was already more and more aware. Like I was always a Freemason conspiracy theorist. You could see his videos have amazing symbolism. And that was one of the first thoughts I had when I saw his, I died. I don't think so. Maybe it was I who was fucking up. He's like in a coffin doing the skull and bone style, 3rd degree ritual where he's in his coffin and he comes out of the coffin. And and that was like the first time I saw his big music video. I thought, okay, yeah, he gets it. He's initiated, and for him to make it through every video he's got have such deep Masonic symbolism. I'm not calling him a Freemason. I'm just saying like he is clearly more aware of symbolism.
He was very in line with that same thing that you're into, Andreas, that was actually the basis for your Vice documentary.
Dude, did you see his documentary he did on Antarctica where he goes?
That's where I'm going with this. It's like he's arguing that he's like kind of like teetering on there. I'm not saying it's a flat Earth, but I'm open to it because there is a wall, and I fucking climbed that wall.
We got them circlers.
Yeah. So he
and
totally
went there. Over there. Yeah.
The globhead. Yeah. Some circlers. It was great. I like circles better than globheads. But yeah, and he's like, we talk about Agartha. That's the entrance to Agartha, the hollow earth. He goes into this whole sequence. I loved it. I loved it so much. And apparently that was filmed like 6 months or so, like right around after when mine came out too. So it's crazy. Like, I don't know.
But isn't that what you were considering doing something similar?
I mean, all right, here's the thing. I don't want to be like this because like I'm still emotionally processing it. But watching Oliver Tree for the last week, every video he ever put out, all the videos I have of him, I have songs that were never released, right? I'm listening to, which are some of my favorite songs, some of his earliest music we like collaborated on together. Watching it all, and then watching that Antarctica trip he did, and you know, I just looked at it. And I'm thinking like, I don't know how to say this. I already been there. I was there. I went there already. I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm saying is like everything he worked for so hard, all of his dreams and everything are things I don't want to say the things I've already did, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
You're resonant with your own process, and
I don't know what else like there's something in my life now. Like, am I supposed to die because I've already done all the things? Like, I don't know. I'm freaking out, kind of.
I don't think you need to freak out necessarily, Andreas.
I just don't know what I'm supposed to do now. You know, I guess
maybe
like
not flying a helicopter in Brazil.
Yeah, number one, don't fly in a helicopter.
I never liked helicopters.
Also, don't go bungee jumping in Mexico. They just don't have the regulations.
I'll even say no motorcycles. I'll even go that far.
I don't ride motorcycles. My brother, like my insurance guy, just broke his neck on a motorcycle. My brother and I told him, don't do it. Don't get a motorcycle. There's an age limit. Like,
it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
That's my brother said.
My nephew, my brother told my nephew those words. He's like, it's not a question of if, it's when he started riding a motorcycle. He broke like almost every damn limb in his body. His like leg broke the opposite. It's so horrific. And anyway, whatever.
But it's so worth it because then you can feel like a cool boomer.
That's true. Feeling like a boomer is nice.
Is it worth it? I don't know. 6'7", I don't know. Yeah.
6'7". Someone was asking who Oliver is, which is like, all right, well, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know people didn't know who Oliver was. Really.
I'm not even kidding. When someone first posted it, before I even knew that he was dead, I legitimately, not kidding, thought that was Tim Heidecker, and it was just like a bit that Tim Heidecker had been doing for a while with jinkos and like a wig on.
I wanted to show you some videos, but it's having a hard time because they're like they're old format, so it doesn't want to load them in the Brave.
Are these in real media? Are these RMB files?
That's pretty much how old we're talking. But no, I have some good footage too. Like we worked on short films. At one point, I can't even pull it up. At one point, Oliver played me in a short film at Foothill College, where it's like I am. And he wore all my clothes the whole video. And this is before he did stuff. So he's like, his first ski jacket is my mom's ski jacket before he's wearing his mom's bell. And I'm seeing it and I'm thinking it's time travel in my character, but it's because I'm crazy. And really what it is I'm seeing someone making the same mistakes that I made a few years earlier, basically. And so he's like, it's like this weird time loop, but it's not really a time loop. It's just like dharmas that are repeating themselves. And we never released the whole film. But I have most of it. So I don't know, but it's like, what do? Do you put out footage of like a dead person? Because like that's what the worst thing. That's what producers do. It
doesn't have to be. You do it from a respectful place, you know. I mean, is it exploitation? He was kind of just like on his trip.
Like I'm trying to use it. That's the thing. And so it just bothers me because I don't know. Today I'm going to go over to see his parents and his brother after this, and we're going to hang out and I'm going to process it a bit more. But it's like, it's weird because it bothers me so much. And I'm pretty good with death. Like I deal with a lot of it. I deal with a lot of death. And this one just sucks so much, you know? I had a really hard time with my friend Nate last year, but it's like, it just feels like people, you know, I mean, my brother, when my dog died, I said, like, I hope there's like a few less deaths for a little while. And he
Well,
said, death has only begun to take from us. And that was before my dad and everything. It just
there's a pretty big factor here. I mean, if you're talking about people in your very personal life that passed, you're talking about your father, rest in peace. It's one thing. If you're talking about like a generation ago, the amount of like people that you went to high school with or whatever, you wouldn't even know that they were gone. It's a social media age. Things come through that otherwise wouldn't have come through, where you're like, oh my God, I remember that person. And like a generation ago, you just wouldn't have known, nearly as many people that you're passing. Like, oh my God, I've lost so many friends. Like I had that happen in 2020 and 2021, where it's like, oh my God, suicides. It's like how many people I went to school with and how many people I was close with at different points in my life had committed suicide. If it wasn't for social media at that time, I wouldn't know. Like I had two people that I knew from my past. I was like, oh my God, I wonder how they're holding up in this time, because they're like, so not just seamsters, but like their process of like the therapy of dance and community and all this stuff. And I go to check in on them, and they killed themselves.
Dead,
and I was like, but if it wasn't for social media, I would never have even found that out. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. But
no, it's fair. It's like
crazy.
I had this weird situation though a couple of days ago, because I built my network attached storage, and I added a bunch of hard drives to put, like, I have so many old hard drives, so much old video footage and all these photos from everything. And I did it for my mom's footage too. I wanted to back it up. So I go through it all, and I'm looking at it, and it has its own face tracking. It's not like anything else, image. It's just like photos or whatever. But I'm looking through years of my life, and I have photos that go back 20 years at least, probably more like 30, to like beyond 2000, like maybe 1999 on. I start having scans and then digital photos. So I've got all this stuff. And I'm going through it. I'm just like, wow, this person dead. This person's dead. This girl killed herself. Oh, I forgot that girl killed herself like 10 years. Oh, that girl killed herself 15 years ago. Oh, this person died in a car crash. Oh, that. And it's weird, because as you go through it, you start realizing it's like, obviously we're older now, and we're going to get older, and not everyone will. So we're going to, like, everyone will die, and it starts to hit you. Especially sucks if you're a reactionary, what's the word, where you refuse to accept something, a denial. I'm a macabre denialist, because I love transhumanism, and I want to say death to mugs game, and there's some way to solve this problem, because it's a terrible problem. It's like there's two ways to look at death. One is either God is evil, and the other is God is absent, like an absent parent or evil. Because
I've been wanting to rack your brain for this.
The third is the Catholic way, which is that your life means nothing. It's not valuable to you. The only thing that's valuable about you is the breath that God's breathed into that dirt. So just get through doing what God wants of you. Be humble about it and die. I got it. But
you're a cosmic fart, basically. Like there's a reason for you to exist, but once that reason has exhausted its function, then it ceases to exist.
But the fart is the divine wind. It's really the fecal matter. You're the fecal matter in the divine wind that makes up.
I don't know if I like this allegory, but I can follow the premise. So, but isn't there something to be said, just like in anyone's lifetime?
I'm sorry. Your hair looks fabulous. Wow, wait, let's just do a really quick glam up.
Stop.
Oh, that's so good. Look at it. Look at you.
Anna doesn't like to be the focus of the screen, I've noticed.
Still though, that's some like cool hair. I feel like that's like Texas Sunday church hair. That's pretty
Thank you.
I want to pick your brain. Maybe now isn't the time necessarily. Maybe I could just go to other interviews that you've done with people regarding transhumanism, Andreas. But like, to me, it seems like kind of like the way that you might be relating to that term isn't the way that all
not at all
quote unquote transhumanists say it.
I don't think people use Christianity the way I do, or Mormonism the way I do, or anything. But
you have a very individuated relationship to these.
But the individuation of the relationship is that I understand the word, no one else does. It's not that like I have invented a definition. It's that everyone else has, because they simply don't know the truth. So they try to figure out from usage what a word means. That's everybody. No one goes and looks up a word. So transhumanism, by etymological definition, has to do with fulfilling the entirety of humanity, of the human experience, right? To transcend the human experience. And it has to do with Dante's Paradiso. Originally, the first word, transhumanism was the first word for Christianity. And it meant to experience all that you could out of life, and then whatever comes next, right? So it's not necessarily post-human, but it's like a question between apotheosis and apokatastasis, which are the two routes for the soul. One is apotheosis, where you become a god, the apotheosis of Washington, right? Where you
divination,
yeah. Apokatastasis is different. It's not the becoming of something, it's the return to what you are. So apokatastasis is to return back to being a pure, immortal being, which is basically a god. It might be better than a god if you understand your Neoplatonics.
Well, how does Melchizedek relate?
Well, to be the holy devout, a Melchizedek, a holy righteous man, is somebody who is doing the will of God and making the world, better, evolving the world into a better place using worship, right? Is
right. Sure. Well, it's okay. So you have two lines. You have you have the kingship and you have the priestly line, right? So in Hebrews, it will tell you that it's also in Psalms and Genesis. Obviously, Genesis because he's the king of Salem, which is peace, right? But what's communicated is that Jesus is of the line, not just the Davidic line, but the Melchizedek is directly associated with Jesus. Why? Because of the context of the Maccabees. The Maccabees were the Jewish royalty. So there was a disjoint happening within Judaism 2,000 years ago. And it reminds me of Ship of Fools, because in the story of Ship, and there's also like that, the Unabomber, because what's his name? The Unabomber?
Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah. So he wrote his own version of Ship of Fools.
I know him as Ted,
where you have this ship where everyone on the ship is arguing. The way he wrote it is that it's all like these what are today like woke issues, but it's early, because he's saying like people fighting for their right, like I need gay rights and I'm on this ship and I want my gay rights. Really, it's like that's all fine. Right? That's all fine and well, but the ship is headed to bad waters and it's going to sink if we maintain this course. So you have basically there's a weird conundrum happening 2,000 years ago, because you have Jesus as a representative of Melchizedek and the true root of who they believed, who the lower class of Judea believed had a rightful heir to this setup, and you have this conversion of church and state, basically, where the Maccabees have taken over the priestly class and combined it with the role of kingship. And so Jesus' whole thing as a revolutionary is actually fighting for this old root to have power. But there's an issue, and you see it come out when he's in court, when he says what the Son of Man will do, because it's just like Ship of Fools in a way, because he's like, this whole thing, Jerusalem's going to be sacked by the Romans. The context is for the average Jewish person, when they see the centurions showing up one by one. Richard Kipling actually spoke to this in allegory, by the way, in All Mowgli's Tales, when it comes to the tiger killing the man, because they didn't realize there's all these other men. The point is that the Jewish mind could not conceive of what Rome was. And these guys had these funny hats and these funny outfits, and it's like, okay, well, this is what this is. But they didn't understand like what the power was behind that. So it's like, meanwhile, he's like arguing to the people, we need to get back to some form of this tradition that we're actually a part of, and is the basis of our religion. And then that's happening in the midst of 100-year occupation, where Rome is taking over Judea, and Jesus is basically like, whatever it is that we're arguing about, like all of this is like ultimately moot in the face of where we're headed. So it's like, it's the equivalent of like, we're headed towards an iceberg, guys. Like, and we're fighting over these issues, which are at the same time, Jesus arguing these are real issues that are worth acknowledging, just like in Ship of Fools, where it's like, oh, you want these rights or whatever. I'm not saying it's the same thing, like it's totally equivalent, but it's related.
Titanic game where you have to lose your virginity in order to get like 100%, like the
right. But it's very similar to today, where you have this kind of like, you have this secular thing that is Zionism, and you have like the Torah Jews are saying we need to get back to this original thing, and we've been basically hijacked by this other entity.
And that's what happens when that's what I think is so funny when people talk about like, oh, the Jews work together. It's like, do you know Jews? Like, I mean, people have a hard time working together.
Two Jews, 12, 3 opinions.
Yeah, imagine having 12 tribes and 36 or 100, more like 666 opinions, right? There's going to be quite a few. But with the the idea of who hijacked whom, right? You got them. And all right, really quickly, Maccabe's death. Maccabees is Hammer, And Mac Abba, right, would be sons of the sons, right? The sons of sons. So there's like a weird sync, I think, also with Macabre and Maccabees and everything.
This has been a point of contention among Jews for ages, is because you have the line of Judah, you have the Davidic line, and then you have this is totally separate. So they're like, wait, like what happened to our thing?
With the Chaldeans, because they were in charge when they were in Babylon. So the hijacked
the Phoenicians too, yeah, completely. So this all relates to the Phoenicians, and a lot of it actually has to do with language. And that's one of the issues when people say Semitic, they don't always understand. Like this is Semitic specifically relates to people who speak Semitic languages. So it's like, and haven't you heard it's a battle of words? It's so much of what's going on is really about language and the way that terms will get charged and used for different aims, depending on, like, if you can redefine a word.
This is the most Goyim person I've ever heard of. Art Fisher. Are you from West Virginia? I've never met a Jew that I know of. That sentence that I know of, because there's so many in hiding, right? Yeah, wherever you are.
Right. There's also the people who love to take the microphone and say, we represent these people, and they'll say a bunch of stuff, and then people hear that and then they react to it. That's my issue with Chabad. I feel like Chabad is too at the forefront of trying to do PR when they're horrible at it. They're like the worst propagandists around, like Shmuley, Mateo, whatever. Like, I'm like, dude, you're not helping.
You ever see Coonskin? The
Ralph
Bashki's Coonskin, and there's a scene in Harlem where there's this little like mountain lion of a black man. He doesn't even look human anymore. Just like he's 90% crack and skeleton, and he's just like digging through trash cans. He's like, I ain't seen a white man in 100 years. I keep my eyes to the ground. They don't see me. I don't see them. That's what I get out of this.
I get it. Yeah, totally.
I vote you do that voice for the rest of the episode.
I love that voice. I love Coonskin. Coonskin's one of the greatest.
Nobody clip that and play that out of context, by the way.
That's what they'll do.
It's an anthropologically important movie. I think that Ralph Bakshi made the best documentaries of any American filmmaker, despite being born in Israel.
Is Wizards a documentary?
Wizards is totally a documentary. You're from Santa Cruz. You've been to Portland. You know Wizards is real. Yeah. Like, we all know that curvy girl, and like I am very quickly becoming the gnome wizard in that movie with the gravelly voice.
Anna and I just had a discussion about Cool World and how she pointed out that Cool World was basically a tale of the Nephilim, where you've got this like supernatural race that's not allowed to procreate with humans, and they do it anyways.
Dimensional beings, flatlanders. And if you read the original script that Bakshi took his name off, you know this, right? I'm sorry if I'm jumping. No, the original version of the script is like all about mating between multidimensional beings and subdimensional beings. It's like, if you do it, granted, it's in the movie now still, like, don't do tunes.
Didn't Bakshi sue for
he took his name off of it. It was rewritten by Quentin Tarantino. There's a whole bunch of things that were changed about it. But if you get into the original, I mean, Bakshi, born in Israel, raised in Harlem, understood two things that a New Yorker needs to understand: Kabbalah and African witchcraft. And he put together one of the greatest like magic workings of all time. And of course, they had to buy it and keep that from coming out to the public. That's basically what Coonskin is. It's Coonskin, Cool World. Sorry. Cool. Meanwhile, Coonskin is like, you can see what it could have been. Like, if you watch his older movies, you understand there are things you could not film in 1970s New York City. You would be dead. Right? Like, if you were to try to be a witness, they'll kill you, right? That's the 70s mafia, New York City. But if you animated it just right, like, there's a milk truck going on the highway and some gangsters are in the back trunk of a police car while these teenage girls are being assaulted and forced to pleasure these fat pig police officers, and they're giving an escort to this milk truck. But then the milk truck guy is on crack because the mafia's son is a homosexual who has a transgender girlfriend who gave him too much crack. And then the van splits and you start to see the milk truck open, and all of a sudden heroin pours out the back on the New York bridge. And it's like, this is happening. This is happening every day. This is real life. But you couldn't photograph it. You'd be dead. So if you just drew it, you could say, well, this is just a cartoon.
Well, it's like Narco Corrido almost.
Bakshi was the only director that could tell the truth, and it's only because he was animating the truth. He couldn't actually like show you it like recorded, or he'd be dead.
What's the one about the history of music, rock music? The
American pop.
American
Starts with the pogroms.
American pop.
Starts with multiple generations of a Jewish American musical family, right? The pogroms, the dad refuses to quit singing the prayer as the Russians are killing, Cossacks are killing his women and children, and they're burning down the temple and the synagogue. The father's like, get out, and he just holds the Torah, and he's burned alive as he's singing it. And that's the beginning.
It's interesting. It's weird how American pop actually relates directly to the thing that I was discussing before we went to talking about Bakshi. Like that's like, it's actually connected in a weird way, because there's like the same dynamics that play into this are happening over and over again, which feels like that's kind of what the book of Revelation is like. It's telling you about Jerusalem being sacked. This is what's going to happen. It may have been written afterwards, I don't really know, but whatever the case, it's got these like different prophecies that are all related, because what a prophecy isn't necessarily a prediction of the future, in so much as it's a recognition of dynamics that perpetually play out in a cyclical way. And here this is going to happen on a larger and larger scale. So like for me, like having like studied Ramak, like that's one of Ramak's big things. He's saying what happened at this time 2,000 years ago is going to be happening for the whole world. So something that was a regional issue that was taking place with these dynamics, that these same dynamics are going to happen on a grandiose scale, and that people who are non-Jews are going to be put in the same position that the Jewish people were in. Why? Because this is actually more about power structures than it is these people and those people and what us and them. It's like there is an us and them factor, but it transcends culture. And I feel like this relates to like McKenna's thing of like culture isn't your friend, is it's like more that it's that culture is a distraction from recognizing those principal dynamics that keep happening repeatedly. And like Nietzsche spoke to this with The Birth of Tragedy, because what Nietzsche argued is that the Dionysian throng being met with that Apollonian kind of oppressive like structure of rule and law with no end to the rule and law, where we're just going to have more and more and more laws, like this will strangle an empire. And he's saying, because the whole thing, like you've been looking at the Golden Bough, Thomas, which is also very relatable, because you have this recognition that if you want your empire to continue and thrive, you have to allow for a degree of sacrifice. You have to align yourself with nature. The thing with Melchizedek is that's all about bread and wine, which would become the communion, right? But this is also, in my view, relates to the Dionysian thing, because what is Dionysus? It's not that it's chaos necessarily. It's that people recognize these patterns that existed in nature, and they saw the importance of modeling our whole culture and society in alignment with these principal dynamics. And so they just did that almost in like a natural way. I don't know if it involved psychedelics or whatever, but the point is that you have these two different lines. You have the one that's like, we're going to align with nature, and you have the other one that's all about imposing shit upon nature to conquer this and to be above this, which is hubris and arrogance. All these old stories. Yeah.
The middle path is the Schoenwerke, right? Like the Swedish, like Scandinavian minimal design. And it's something that emerges in the early 20th century that is very golden ratio based. So it's super prime mathematical shapes, but it is at the like the prescription of removing all culture, right? The Scandinavian minimalism is like the IKEA emptiness. Everything is empty, blank, and there's just—
Is that Backrooms?
It's like Kanye West's canvas, right? Kanye West talks about how he needs to have an empty space in order to have art. Buddhism talks about how the art and the shape comes from the empty space and the void. So it actually works out. But if you look around, you'll notice, even though there's not a lot of everything going on, it's very white and plain and everything else, there's a lot of geometry. There's a lot of golden ratio shapes. Everything is perfectly shaped. So it is a return to nature by an erasure of, synthetic culture that's emerged naturally over tens of thousands of generations.
Right. Kanye is a really interesting topic. At the night that Bill was like, dude, did you just see Kanye's tweet? And it was, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews or whatever it was. And my immediate reaction to that in that moment was, oh my God, somebody has to get him to have a real conversation with a Sephardic Jew.
Yeah.
Because the whatever record producers and the people that he's dealing with are not giving him a full picture of what the thing is. If you listen to his song, the Heil Hitler song, it's all about his own struggle, his children, his relationship, and his frustration. And then he's like, if you're telling me that I'm this terrible thing, screw it. I'll just give you this. I will become that boogeyman.
It's Anton LaVey's whole deal is like, well, if you think this is bad, then I'll just pretend to be the bad thing, right?
And now I don't think people
is talking about Hitler's life. He's not like, and then Hitler became like an artist. No, he's not. He's not like comparing himself, like, oh, he was a vegetarian artist, I can be like that. It was like, well, if you don't want me to do this, if you say I'm not allowed to, I'm gonna do it because I'm a bad boy.
This was basically the whole plot of Wicked, by the way. The Wizard of Oz.
Wicked's about
musical. It's literally the Elphaba becomes Kanye West. She's like, oh, you people, in order for you to be happy, you have to have a specific villain that you can point at. So I'll play that role. Like, she doesn't necessarily want to do it, but she realizes how important it is, and it's already gonna happen anyways. So like, let me embrace it and like get on the broom and have a wicked little laugh and like lean all the way into it.
That's the archetypal villain origin story, right? I mean, that's not specific to Wicked. Sorry.
No, Lucas with with Corey Haim and Charlie Sheen. Lucas, he's like a football with a nerd kid. And then
I thought you were talking about the Wizard for a second, but no.
Well, sort of. What I'm thinking is because Wizard's not really about Adolf, we could totally make a student biopic about Adolf Hitler. It would just be like Lucas crossed with.
No, I'm talking about Lucas with the power glove in The Wizard, not Wizard.
Oh yeah, that's a lot more like, I don't know if that's his story.
That's kind of crazy because you got The Wizard, Wizards, and we're talking about The Wizard of Oz and Wicked. There's sync happening here,
and there's Wiz. The Wiz is
The Wiz. Yeah.
The Wizard. The Wizard is the 1989 German movie that I think I brought up before, right? Where the kid clones himself. Do you know about the Wizard?
No.
It's also known as Bodo. Let me find it for you. Wizard.
I vaguely remember this one. Yeah.
You remember it. Yeah, you remember it because you have like sexualized
angle
relationships between young boys and women that are mature. I know why you liked it. That's the same reason I did.
But because Blank Check absolutely destroyed my brain when I was a kid. That's why.
Dude, Blank Check, I'm going to rewatch it again in a movie. I love that movie. This isn't the right one. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is this weird movie, and it's about a boy who's super wealthy, and his parents give him like all the money he needs, and they make him do psychology therapy lessons to become more of a primal male. He has to do sword fighting and all that stuff because he's kind of a weak nerdy German kid, but he has the most expensive computers that make weird science look like a Palm Pilot, and he's building his own software. He's very relatable. This was my dream as a kid, is this guy, and he doesn't want to go to
Corey
school.
Is that what you're saying?
No, it looks like it, but this is a German.
I see it.
But this
is that
kid
person like breastfeeding on that drawing.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird sexual symbols. You need to watch this movie more than anybody because you're going to pull out alien symbolism. He has an animatronic robot, and there's this whole thing. Like, there's his dad and him. Every morning they do like sword fighting together, like to train him because he has to be more of a man if he's ever going to be a Wezzy businessman. And then his mom is like a vain, narcissistic, sexual lady, and they have a robot he built in the kitchen. So eventually what he does is he doesn't want to go to school or deal with his hard life anymore. He clones himself. He gets an egg. He puts his own DNA into the egg. He sets it all up. And then it comes out with this cooler version of himself that's it's programmed to be exactly what he needs to be to impress everybody. It's exactly what his parents want and everything else. And then he has like this weird Oedipus scene, like he's watching his mother to see how well the clone interacts with his mother, and they interact very well. In fact, the boy is clearly putting sexual wiles and producing designs on this woman, and she gets confused.
Dude, he looks like a younger version of you, Andreas.
That was such a Mormon way to describe that.
He's seducing he's kissing her, dude. He's like, and then eventually she's so confused because she feels so young and beautiful and desired by this dude that she shotguns a cigarette into his mouth, and that's when she realizes she's not supposed to be doing
this. A cigarro,
bruh. The Wiz.
Okay, the Wiz kid.
Cigar?
It's a cigarro. It's one of those, like, it's a thin cigarette that's made of cigar.
Cigarello.
I was just having like Twitter conversations about like the Father's Day stuff and the cigar and Freud and like how they used to pass around cigars when people were born. But you know what's so weird is I could not for the life of me find an image of that anywhere. Like I tried to do it.
Oh, you just look up "it's a boy cigar" or "it's a girl cigar." You'll
Yeah,
find.
I found a cigar,
I always
but,
buy
like-
cigars for people. I'm not even smoking cigars, but that's a tradition that has probably been going on for 400 years that everyone in my family's ever been a part of. So
Yeah, no, but I was trying to find an image as like a depiction, like see how they used to pass them out, like in the
just type in
50s or
"it's a boy
whatever, right?
cigar." Here, I'll do it right
And-
now. It's,
No, I can. You're not listening. I can find that cigar. I
Men,
can't
right?
find
I
a
know.
picture of like men in the hospital in the 50s or like an image from a movie. And I asked Grok to just like draw it.
For sure, there's an episode of Bewitched that has this. I know for a fact because I've seen it like 20 times.
Yeah.
I can't remember what season it's in though.
Yeah, there's definitely, I could find ads for them at some point.
I
I'm
was
sure.
looking and then I asked Grok to draw it, and Grok said for safety reasons, it would not draw me a picture of men in the hospitals like receiving a cigar.
Oh my God. You need to talk to Paranoid and me afterwards. We can install some software on your computer that can do it locally. God.
So there was a thing where I don't know if I should share this, but whatever. It was my ex had to. It was like a Halloween party with brass tacks in the city. It was like a renegade party happening in like Oakland, and she needed a good costume. And I was like, okay, here it is. You're a pink Freudian slip, meaning you wear like a pink lingerie, and you have a strap on. And what you do is when people ask you about your outfit, you say you're a pink Freudian slip, and you say sometimes a big black is just a big black because it's coming out from under the slip is this massive thing. And she wore it, and then I was like,
Can't believe I let you do that.
She wanted to like dance with me, and I was like, I can't. And she's like, you wanted me to wear this? And I'm like, yeah, but this is weird. Like it wasn't just that. She had like a mustache and a gray wig to look like Freud. So she was like really trying to do like, I'm a pink Freudian slip. But I was just like, it was just so awkward to even be like, because she's swinging it like back and forth. And I was like, I can't. And she was like, we didn't have like a fight, but it was just like this awkward thing where it's like, I'm sorry, I can't dance with you right now when you're swinging that thing at me. It's just, and with the mustache and the glasses and the hair, it was just like, it was weirding me out. She's like, it's your idea. And I'm like, yeah, because it's funny. But
it worked
this
too
is
well.
too much for me right now. I can't. She's got a cane. She's like going around pretending like this. Sorry. Enough said.
I was in Vienna and I kept thinking to myself, like before I got to Vienna, I was like, wow, I always thought Freud was a pervert, right? Like he's obviously, he's a cracked out weirdo. But then I moved to Vienna and I started like living there with Austrians and Viennese people. And I realized like, it's not that Freud was a pervert. It's that Freud was from Vienna. Vienna is like, it does something to you. That whole like here is a horse tie. You know what a horse tie is, where you tie your horse to the street? Here's a horse tie in Vienna.
Aren't they known for sausage? Isn't that like a Vienna?
Keep going, Hannah Nicole Wordsmith, because they're definitely known for their sausage, but they're known for a lot of other things too. Generally speaking, Viennese people are known for having their mothers do their laundry in bathtubs when they're 45 still or whatever, right? There are people that are writers and things around Germany that I'm doing this even though I'm not there anymore. Writers who will they'll wear suits all month long, and at the end of the month they'll send their laundry back to Vienna for their little old lady grandmother mothers to do in bathtubs and then to send them again. Like the Freudian maternal thing seems so weird to me, as like my mom's a feminist doctor who I don't know very well, and I focus on Teddy Ruxpin as the raiser of me as a child. But like in Vienna it makes sense, because like if my mother did like made breakfast for me and did laundry for me, like even now as a grown-up, obviously wouldn't you love your mother in a different way? I would think. I guess that's part of the.
Isn't this all in that Leonard Cohen song Vienna? Like now in Vienna, it's like it feels like, I'm sorry, but it feels like lyrically like what he's saying. Isn't that like kind of the quintessential statement on Vienna? It's romanticizing, but at the same time there's this weird like underlying, like I don't know if it's a criticism, but it's just like there's an insight into what this place is and how I don't know.
Well, Vienna was super screwed up because it's like they destroyed the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they destroyed the Reich, and then they carved up Austria and Vienna particularly between Russia, Italy, France, America, and allowing Operation Gladio to basically control Europe at the time. So they brought in all the American kids. That's where my parents met, right? My parents went to school in Vienna in 68. So imagine in 1968, a bunch of like upper middle class, wealthier, American kids who thought that Hogan's Heroes and, Nazis were funny and stuff. And they show up in like, Nazi surplus boots and with flamingo jackets, and they're doing somersaults in the street. And it's like, this is 20 years after all of your family have been murdered and like you've lost everything. And these are like your grandmother's a hunchback widow. And it's like, it's hard to understand how screwed up Austria was right after the war. And then you just have these rich kids running around like it's Vietnam with pogo sticks, and hula hoops and Coca-Cola Vietnam through the war, right? So
right, but if we're talking about Freud in the context of Vienna at that specific moment in time.
Like, you need to walk around Vienna at night. Freud would walk around Vienna every night. I'm like, Mom, Freud did a lot of cocaine, like a lot of cocaine.
And really, really good cocaine.
For me to walk around, I mean, if I were
quality shit,
I would have to walk around.
But he made good use of it, right? He didn't just sit and like ramble about all these businesses he was going to start with a bunch of friends. Like, he actually got to work. He put it to work.
Real attack, Thomas. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, he was like those Mayan workers, because the conquistadors they took.
He was a Mayan worker.
No, because they took the coca from the population. And then it didn't take long before they're like, oh wait, because they thought it was like a pagan thing that they were doing, and we need to take this. And they're like, shit, their work production just like decreased dramatically. Let's give them back that thing. So it's argued to this day in South America, the reason why they have their coca was because they didn't work as hard without it. And so even for Freud, but my thing is with Freud is I'm just like, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's just like without Freud and the basics of Freud, you don't have all these other thinkers who follow.
That's my point. Honestly, if you just go to Vienna, it would have happened eventually. It's inevitable.
Did you take this photo?
Enough cocaine before cocaine had enough coffee shops. The big thing about Vienna is the coffee shops. Instead of going to a university, you go into a coffee shop and there would be Picasso or Freud or Marx or somebody there anyway, and you could just listen to them talk. And, there's just something about this city. I think it was inevitable at that time that something like Freud emerged. Freud is actually kind of an imposter. Like, if you look at it, there are far more authentic, perverted psychoanalysts than Freud. Freud actually gets a PR thing because sexuality was still kind of, suppressed. But he wasn't the insane like, he was a married man with a family. He was not he wasn't the Aleister Crowley that they pretended he was.
No, he was way more rational than that. And the other thing too that I think makes Freud important is that he was trying to provide some sort of answer to hypnosis, because hypnosis was beginning to become like one of the most popular ways of getting over things. And his opinion was very anti-mainstream at that point, because everyone was going into hypnosis, and he basically said that hypnosis is effective. It does work, and it lets you get over certain issues. But he noticed that over and over, people would relapse. So he was realizing earlier than a lot of other people that hypnosis was a temporary problem, and that really there was something deeper inside the core of somebody's thought process that was causing this behavior, and not just to address the behavior, but address to like the core of it. And now it sounds like that's almost common sense, right? But that wasn't necessarily common sense when he was pitching that.
One issue with that,
he was
though,
so good at like a lot of these people were women who'd been raped their entire lives, right? And by wealthy people or whatever the circumstance was, and they had just incredible trauma. And the trauma that he was discovering was not yet publicly talked about,
which others would write off as hysteria. And he's going deeper into like, what are your father issues?
I think that's why he's famous. Was just that he opened up, the assault and trauma conversation, and if before him that was not done. Right. So, even to the point that like abuse of women and children had to be argued in court as similar enough to abuse of animals, because there wasn't a law against it at first. Right. So
I want to speak to something that Thomas, you said, because you said that you used the word core. And my argument about Freud is that it's deeper than what was. And I agree with you insofar as that. And at the same time, when you look at what followed him, both with Jung and with Reich, and even James Hillman and et cetera, the psychoanalysts, is that their argument with Freud is like he had an insight into repression, sublimation, all these basic things, libido, et cetera. But like for Freud, he was such a pessimist because he would have people do these going into all these issues and all this stuff, but he didn't have any breakthroughs in his career with people. His patients didn't really have breakthroughs in the way that his not just contemporaries, but the people who followed in his footsteps. And so and he was so stuck to his ways, but he was just like, if we keep peeling back these layers, we just find more dysfunction. Whereas somebody comes along and they're like, actually, there is a core here. And it's not something that Freud actually ever really got to. So it's like Freud went deeper, others went deeper still, to the point that they had success with their patients. And Freud kind of resented that, as far as I can tell. And you can see that in his letter correspondences, especially with Jung and his wife, not Freud, but Freud's wife, excommunicating Reich because of their differences of opinion as far as sexuality goes. Who was more perverted? Most people would tell you Reich was more perverted than Freud. I disagree, because what even is perversion in this context? Because everyone's just trying to have insight into
I would say Reich was
mechanism.
more open-minded, though, for sure. Freud was definitely more
for sure, but also there's Reich in Vienna, and then there's Reich after being excommunicated and getting what was essentially a cult following. And he went to places that I think if he was still within that framework, the very tight framework that existed in Vienna, we would have ended up with something different from him. So, I mean, that's speculative and theoretical, but I think there's something to be said for that.
You don't sell this yet, Paranoid? Come on, bro.
I wish that you could just print things out that you can generate in images. I've got some prototypes that you would love. Absolutely.
Captain Underpants, the Patsy 2000. You take a photo and you scan it, and it makes it into real life. I'm surprised that the author of Scholastic magazine didn't sue 3D printer companies, because they definitely came up with it first.
First and foremost, I want the Bohemian Grove playset.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Dude, you know what? These are made off of Lego knockoff pieces that I ordered in bulk, and some I can't even get anymore. So I'll set one aside for me. I think I've got 3 left.
We can easily make molds and castings, and we could add an ESP 20 so that you could have sound effects, and we could take recordings of Bohemian Grove, or even AI generate.
Oh my God, you push the button and you hear, who is it, Walter Cronkite?
I mean, I know I have at least half of the Bohemian Grove plays. I'm sure you have the other half, right, Thomas? We should
I actually do. I've got the boxed set that's got all the music recorded on CD for all the different ceremonies.
Yeah, let's freaking do it. Let's put this out. Honestly, I would play Bohemian Grove, the AAA game. Are you kidding me? Why is this not a thing?
Unreal Engine just released their AI edition, I think, this week.
I was playing with it yesterday. It actually works okay. But so far, I've had better luck with Godot. But I still think that Unreal has, it's going to be crazy.
Well, the other thing that I've got, too, that I haven't seen anyone else, and I've got it scanned, but I bought a long time ago a poster for one of the spring encampments. And on this poster, it had an actual map of every single different encampment on all of Bohemian Grove. There's hundreds of them, I think, and it has the entire thing. So I've always had it in mind. I'd love to have an open world of just Bohemian Grove, and you sneak in, or you're invited or whatever, and it's just like GTA but inside of the realm, because there's
that sounds all right. My version is more like Taft. Okay, I want to do your President Taft. You're a werewolf. You've broken the bathtub twice.
Like Katamari, was he roll around and pick things up?
Because Taft would get so big that and then he would shrink again, because he was a werewolf, so he would go back to normal size. But then when the moon got big, he'd get so big. So the bathtub that's in the White House right now is the 4th bathtub, because he had to replace the bathtub 3 times because he was so big he destroyed the White House bathtub. And you have to imagine he was a lot of people in the newspapers were saying this was a nepotistic thing because Taft was related to Roosevelt, I think. And so he wanted to differentiate himself. He's this big guy who wanted to be his own person. And, everyone's always making fun of him all the time. And you're giving him all this trouble in Washington, D.C. And he's thinking to himself, I just can't wait for the summer. I just can't wait till I can get back with the boys. And it's this huge thing, to get to Bohemian Grove for him, because that's the only place Taft can be himself. And it's this beautiful musical event, and there's love, and there's, you know, people he's meeting. There might be like some like guy he thinks is his friend or something like that. I don't know how, like, it's more like, it's like Disney queer, like it's where it's like in the 90s where they're clearly gay, right? But they could just be friends, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like
Bert and Ernie, yeah.
Bert and Ernie, the Bert and Ernie thing, like with the homo romanticism. I miss that, you know? Make it what you want it to be.
My favorite version of like the origins of Bohemian Grove too was that it was originally a place that the regular artist would go to because the only way that they could afford to do artwork was basically by shelling out their work for, like, you know, the business owners and like all these fat cats. So every once in a while they would get together and they would do these encampments, and that's why it was Bohemian Grove. It was like, here we're going to do art for ourselves, the things that we want to do. We're going to do
everything,
the dance and
Maybe
none of the commercial
is Burning Man. How is that different than Burning Man, but just in terms of a different social strata?
You guys have said Burning Man is like a Silicon Valley version of this, which 100% make, because then what happens is that after they do this for a few years, they start running out of money. So like, all right, well, next year, you know, Jim over there, well, one of his sponsors, one of the guys he works for during the year, like he's got all this money, so let's invite him over and he'll sponsor this next encampment. And when they invite the boss over, and the boss is like, this is great, like what you guys got going on, I love this. Hey, next year, can I bring a few more of my friends and we'll throw a little bit more money and you guys can keep this going? And after that happened enough times, all of the bosses got together and they were like, we should just buy that place, and they collectively purchased the land, and now technically they can just kick the original artist off that started Bohemian Grove. And in fact, they invert the process where now it's like, well, this is our encampment, and if we want you there, we'll hire you to be there. So now the artists are working for the bosses during the normal time, and they also have to work for the boss during playtime. So now there's like no more refuge.
There's a lot of like druid families too, right? Like there's a lot of Californian, Scottish and Irish families that were involved with, had been, you know, technically Catholic, but weren't strongly, let's say, Roman Catholic, right? And there were a lot of them that were into Celtic ceremonies. So there's a big, like if you saw that DuckTales episode where they go to Scrooge McDuck's Scottish manor and they find out the druids are still secretly practicing in the catacombs outside their property. That's kind of what's going on.
Funny, she doesn't look Druish. Sorry.
Yeah.
Spaceballs reference.
God,
my father, king of the druids. Never mind.
It's gonna be good. I can't wait to see the new Spaceballs.
Hey, I feel like right now, like we're approaching the first hour, and rather than wait for the end to look at specifically Anna Nicole's Twitter.
It's funny that you say that. I was about to say, God, I had to wait for him to finish talking before I pull up Anna Nicole's page. But yeah, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Let's look at some of this stuff, because I've been seeing it lately, and it warrants a discussion. Let's just say so.
Yeah, anything you specifically wanted to bring up, David, or Anna Nicole, is something you wanted to make sure that we're covering here?
Yeah, I don't know, David. What one caught your eye?
I'm basically saying I think that we just, in terms of what could make this a better conversation, I think we should just hear from you and some of the stuff that you've been looking at.
Cuban cigars and children, City of Men, and the liberation of Cuba, the end of cigars.
Oh yeah, the Cuba cigars. I wonder what that relates to.
Why cigars in Cuba is a good tobacco region to grow.
Yeah, I know, but like more than that. The cube, I don't know.
Well, it's the Cuban embargo. See, Bill Clinton, I told this too. I was in the fanciest cigar shop in London at one point a few years ago with my friend Babs, and I was like explaining to the owner of the shop. I was like, see, the thing with the cigar that with Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton was that cigar came from JFK's personal stash and crates that he took before the embargo. And I was like, so, you know, JFK, he had the Cuban embargo, obviously. But I was like, Bill Clinton, he had the Cuban embargo. We know what the cigar came from. And then he cracked up because he said, you know, I go to these conventions with all the other cigar shop owners, and he's like, I never have any joke to tell. They're always telling jokes. And he's like, no, I got the joke from the Crass American, you know. But yeah, anyway.
What brand of cigar was that? Right, because wasn't it the thing? Like he did not have sex with that woman, but didn't he like penetrate her with the cigar and then smoke the cigar?
And he dipped it. It would be the equivalent of if you dipped a cigar in brandy. He dipped it. We know where.
In Monica instead of in brandy.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, but the thing is like, yeah, I should know. I got my dad twice those cigars because they're the Cuban cigars. It's not just Cuban cigars are better. There's actually a specific brand, and now it escapes me.
There's a cigar made by like 5-year-old kids, and it's held together by their tears, and it's just so much better, you know.
Right. It's like that diamond at the end of the spine.
It's salt in the tears because of all the ocean water, and they don't have clean water, so the tears come out sticky.
No, did you say it? I thought maybe you said it.
Is it Cohiba?
I thought it was Macanudo, but I don't remember.
No, Thomas, you just said it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
In Tampa, in Ybor City, that was where some of the Cuban cigar makers, like before the embargo, they moved to Ybor and they started putting cigar factories up here. So even now, if you drive around on the coast of Tampa, there's like a cigar district that's got like all of the old billboards, all the old factories that say like Cuban cigars on it.
Yeah, my dad tells me that that's the best gift I've ever given him, you know. Whereas like I was 1999 and my dad is like a heavy cigar smoker at the time, you know, and I just got him a full box of those guys, and he was
The official cigar report does not officially name the brand. Lewinsky said it was just one of the president's cigars. The public Clinton cigar lore later gets tied to Cuban Cohibas, but there's no evidence. And Clinton was separately reported buying a Cuban cigar after leaving office. So we don't know for sure.
And to be fair, Cohiba is not necessarily like a top shelf cigar. It would be like
it's just because you can't have it. Therefore,
yeah, you were like, I got the great value soda brand or whatever. That was
what about the reflective pool tearing? Like tearing. I just watched Dogma recently, and there's a scene where the 3 locust plague guys who are hockey players, they take their hockey stick and they tear a hole in reality, right? And for whatever reason, I saw it right before I was reading about the tearing of the pool. And I always think about these like reflective pools, right? Like this is a dimensional rift or something, you know, like you're able to see 333 feet up and down into a parallel, like it's a scrying mirror. Right?
Well, absolutely. You see this like with the Washington Monument right there. How it's not a technical obelisk because an obelisk needs to be all one solid thing, which isn't what we see in Washington. But for symbolic purposes, it's obviously taken to be an obelisk. But this is the end of 2010, the year we made contact. What happens with the monolith, where it gets doubled in the reflection? And so I love here you have. I don't know if that's. In the Manly P. Hall image that's next to it there, which is with his own reflecting pool. Like, but you know too that so the guy who designed Oculus at Ground Zero, which they say is a dove of peace, which is clearly an eye. And if you look back at his other examples, he used a reflecting pool to form the eye, where he's got the top of the eye, and then when you combine it with the water, you see both sides. Like, I mean, what I see when I see Oculus, just to say, is totally I don't know if you call it a sigil, but the emblem for the OTO, where you have the dove of peace, which they say that the Oculus is, in the Vesca Piscis, with the eye of Ra in the center. So it's like with the chalice too, right? So it's like this water would be like the container with the chalice. And so there's something very symbolic about like the algae issue.
Yeah,
do we have a clear reflection? Like
blue is a lie. Blue it's the whole like bluebird thing also with Blavatsky, that like we can't have blue, that the blue's not real, and that it's constantly showing another world, like a green sky in the water, and that it's tearing. It's the reality, the separation between the two realities is tearing, right?
Well, I like that Trump focusing on this and people getting all upset. He's spending all this money on, putting together
How
this.
Dare you put bleach? Bleach is expensive. That's like $1 a gallon.
And in case we have another pandemic, then people can just get their shots directly out of the pool and inject them. But also, I think that it was funny because he was promising to drain the swamp. Yeah. And in my mind, I was kind of like, well, this is his way of fulfilling that promise, is that
in symbolism.
But isn't it like a funny symbolism that even the superficial chemical version of draining the swamp, you can't even drain an actual artificial swamp in DC without the swamp coming back almost immediately
from the side.
Right?
Why is Trump like from Florida but not better friends with wed Disney engineers? Because I mean, I can show you a documentary right now. I won't, but why there's no mosquitoes in the mosquito paradise in the world, right? Florida is where mosquitoes love to be, and particularly in stagnant water, which Florida is filled with. Why does Disney World have zero mosquitoes? Well, it's because they know how to do moving water. So if you put moving water into this, where it cycles, problem solved, right?
You're
But this
right.
guy just doesn't know shit about fuck.
But
You're
also,
right.
I just want to point out,
Use my language, but that's pretty much
if you compare the architecture in DC to what they're doing now versus when it was originally put together, we're literally talking about the real difference between operative masons and speculative masons, right? So since there are no more operative masons, then all of the building quality is absolute garbage.
Which is
I'm
crazy.
tripping out right now.
Masons. I'm sorry that like COVID created more speculative masons in Zoom meetings than operative ones, but they exist. I promise you. You know.
But the symbolism of that, I can't help it. I just want to say, like, the idea, like, this relates to the golden bough again. You have the idea of the running water, right? Like that because you have, it's Nemi, right? That's where the whole golden bough came from. It's a lake, and so if you were to argue that this is symbolic of Washington, if you just go there, you'd be like, oh, we need to have movement. We need to be allowing things not to stagnate, and to, like, that is kind of what corruption is in a way. It's like, but what are you supposed to do? It's a reflecting pool, but there's nowhere for the water to go. So there's this inevitability. And we try, like you say, Thomas, trying to fix that through artificial means. Isn't that then what Bohemian Grove is compared to what that golden bough ritual is, where instead of allowing the sacrifice to actually occur and to basically cut back the trees so that the empire can flourish, they want to keep it in the same family, kill the outsider who would challenge that system. And so we end up with the repercussions of that. I'm just saying,
I got it. I know exactly what to do to fix it.
Yeah, what do you got?
Easy.
This becomes the new pool.
This is it. Glenn
Think about
Maxwell
all the
running around with
relationships
little
that can be
boy.
born. Yeah.
I think for me,
Get
there's
Glenn
something-
Maxwell back. We need her help. This is the only way to make. Oh, it's her, dude. It's freaking. It's Maxwell, bro. I want this. It's my life. This movie's my life.
Okay.
I told Thomas the other day that I set up Dogra and Telnix, which are, Dogra is an open source telemarketer program written by Indians. So I guess they wanted to replace their own jobs. And Telnix is like a voice over internet protocol. Because I figured out, how much does it cost for my parents to have a fake phone? Because cable, you know, you buy your cable TV and it gives you internet and it gives you phone, but it's all fake, right? So what you do is you cut out everything except for internet and you save like half of your bill. And then you go to a commercial provider for telemarketers. Now, how much do you think a telemarketer company that expects you to buy 5,000 numbers is going to charge me for my own one number? 2 years for free. I get 2 years of phone for free, and then it's $1 a month for then on out. So my phone bill is completely it's free from now on. And then I get to have AI telemarketers that answer my phone for me. And this seems cool for me, but the reason Thomas is interested is because he wants to be the 8-year-old boy from Blank Check that uses Mr. McIntosh's voice to buy houses online. That's the reason.
Anna, you were saying something.
God, sorry.
Well, let's take it back to the reflecting pool. I think there's something very interesting about the fact that they put these up like wherever there's like sites of mass casualty. Like there were, you know, the Oklahoma one and then the 9/11. Don't. And,
I was giving you just a little bit of respect. And
okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I should be more gracious. I think it's a part of it is us. It's like, look at your fucking selves. Like a lot of the tragedy that comes with like, if we are, the reflecting pool is kind of like a microcosm of the macrocosm, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit about us too, like in our behaviors and our like collective like sin or whatever you want to call it is like bringing on these continual tragedies onto us. That's how I take it.
Yeah, totally. Isn't it weird that that Oculus? So Oculus opens once a year for what, 142 minutes, I believe, or is it an hour and 42 minutes? I forget. Whatever it is the length of the Wizard of Oz. So, and I believe 2001: A Space Odyssey. Huh. But the point is it's from the time in which the first plane hit the first tower to when the last tower fell. So that's how they determine how long that eye stays open on 9/11 every year at ground zero. But the basis for this design, even though it's not technically a reflecting pool, is based off the design of a reflecting pool that the same designer had done previously. Because I guess the idea is that they weren't going to put that in that place, because this Oculus is actually an entrance to the transit system. So and there's shops. It's kind of like a mall. It has crazy acoustics.
It goes to the underground, like it goes to the
so exactly. So underground entrance, the symbolism is there too. Just like where Diana died, you know, like
it's like the 12th floor is really the 13th floor, and sometimes the 13th floor, because 12, 14, that the 13th floor is there is like a short level. Not every building, but like often in like casinos.
You mean a mezzanine, or?
Well, it's like the being John Malkovich. There's like in between.
That was a mezzanine.
That's a mezzanine. Okay, yeah. There's something like a mezzanine, not furnished usually, but just so that there is a 13th floor, so you can't say, well, I don't want to be on the 14th floor.
Just so you know, I feel like I have to mention that I really tried to pair in different timings. I tried to see if Massive Attack's album Mezzanine paired with being John Malkovich for that reason, because I was like, what movie has a mezzanine? And then I came to discover, no, it's actually Pi, because Massive Attack had contributed to the soundtrack for Pi. You can even hear Angel from the same album, the beat of it, show up at one point when he wakes up at the sink or whatever, and that is the sink. But I really wanted it to work with being John. I feel
Malkovich. Like being John Malkovich goes with the Beastie Boys. I don't know yet, but I'll have to look into it. For some reason, I'm just visualizing it.
You feel a resonance there. I'd be interested in some of the specifics.
There's a Jersey Turnpike. I don't know. I'm gonna look into it. I'll see what I can find.
On that whole like reflection thing, both on the pool in DC, but also you were mentioning like old memorials, like the Oklahoma City, like there's always this constant reflection. To bring the Mason aspect back in too, there's the Masonic chamber of reflection before you get fully initiated, that has the word vitriol on it. Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with this. And
the stone below.
What the vitriol stands for is that if you look, and I'm going to paraphrase it just because it's Synctank, but if you look inside the inner earth or the hollow earth, then that's where the true stone is. And then there's another version where that's where the true medicine is, where sometimes medicine is conflated with stone. But I can't not think of hollow earth whenever that vitriol. So like there's the connection between the reflection, and there's usually like a mirror and a skull, and then there's like a bread and water and like mercury and salt and like all these different elements.
Yeah, vitriol is a part of alchemy.
Absolutely. And that actually relates to what I was saying earlier about Melchizedek, because you have the two lines that aren't supposed to come together, and then they come together. And then the idea is that just like with alchemy, then you coagulate. And so ideally you want, in the end, it'll reunite, but there's this period of chaos in that intermingling, So there's something to be said about that. But also just, if you could pull up, Andreas, the art card from Crowley, which is the temperance card in Rider Waite, and I'd like to see both of them, because I want to, so in Crowley's deck you can actually see across the top it has that acronym that you're talking about, and it's so for Crowley, he's relating this to the alchemical process, and he's making it even more explicit than it was in the Rider Waite and the Marseille. So like, but the point is that you have this incorporation of the water. And I say it's worth bringing up the cards just because it speaks to this reflecting pool. So see how he's at the edge of the water there in the Rider Waite one, but
dang it, it won't let me open the.
It won't let you make it bigger. Yeah, well, maybe just find another image somewhere else. But yeah, so if you look at this one, you can see he's intermingling. It's the alchemical process. He's intermingling this
like Gemini vibe too, for sure.
Right. So they cancel each other out to transform into something else. And so you see how they're related. Like he's just literally pouring water from one cup to another. So you have in the Rider Waite, but in this one you have the fire and water. So it's the meaning of the hexagram. So you see how he has the fire triangle there in his center in that card, in the Rider Waite card, and then he's holding water in front of it. So it's Purusha and Prakriti, it's fire and water. These are the elements intermingling, and then there's some third thing that's going to come out of that duality. So you see the two sides. So the writing that surrounds this alchemist in the Crowley card is actually is what you just said about the inner earth and the true stone. That's what it says there. But yeah, worth bringing up.
Interesting.
Which actually reminds me of the thing from the Eastern Star of they're saying what's the acronym for Eastern Star? Do you know, Thomas?
Oh, no, I
Fatal.
don't know it off the top of my head.
Fatal. And
Fatal, yeah.
And it's an abbreviation, and it has to do with each point of the rainbow pentagram, which they take to relate to not the patriarchs, but the matriarchs in the Old Testament. But the idea is they say it would be fatal to reveal our secrets. And I think that relates to Snow White. So like the apple in Snow White, like if you look at the core of the apple and you have the pentagram, and then there's this fatal thing, should she eat it? But then there's a paradox, because what ends up happening with Snow White ultimately, it speaks to the alchemical process.
I've got a crazy sync on that too, and this was like, you'll appreciate this, Andreas, because I found this weird sync because I had just watched Snow White, the original Disney classic, and then I had it on like a Star Trek episode, and for whatever reason I had German subtitles, and I just didn't bother to turn the subtitles off, and they kept talking about poisoning someone, and it kept using the word gift over and over, gift. So I was like, obviously, that must be weird. So I did the etymology, and the German word for gift and poison were basically conflated at some point. Like they were both used interchangeably, and the reason that stood out was because when the witch gives, the evil stepmother gives Snow White the poison apple, she gives it as a gift, and that was and even in some of the original translations it was called a gift instead of a poisoned apple, and it was blowing my mind. Like, what do you mean? Like, how could you conflate gift with something that's poison? Like, you wouldn't give somebody poison.
It's because of the Holy Roman Empire. So the Catholic Church was in Southwest Germany, and the word that the Latins used for medicine was like from the Greek word, from dosis, right? So dose and giftus. So to give a dose, basically. So the gift of medicine, right? But also there's a strong hatred for the Romans by the barbarians. And so they looked at anything that they did superstitiously, that they were making them take virgin blood to drink or urine from doctors or whatever. They didn't trust anything. And also the poison is a major part of the barbarian life. For instance, to cheers somebody, when you say Prost and you clink two glasses together and you look each other in the eyes. Today they say you look each other in the eyes so you don't have bad sex for 7 years. But the original reason is because there might be poison in the glass. And so you bang your glass so that your drink spills in theirs, but their drink spills in yours, and no one sees it. And that way you know that you trust each other because you cheers each other, right? So there's a huge thing with poisoning that goes back even so far as beer itself was dangerous to consume before the 15th century, because you had mushroom beer and weird plants, local beers with scopolamine and all this stuff. So the Germans made a law about the dosage of beer, the Reinheitsgebot, which is a law about what can be in beer, how much can be in beer, how you have to make it. It's the first health law, right?
Couldn't this relate to Ophiuchus too, who is the only constellation that's supposed to be based on an actual person who was healing people using poison in a certain amount? So it's like homeopathic.
I think there's definitely, obviously Ophiuchus is associated with the, Beetlejuice black and white snake. And so a poisonous snake, right, using the snake venom as medicine is one of the oldest things. What doesn't kill you make you stronger is one of the oldest medical ideas, for sure.
Yeah, to the Germans, like Germany.
Yeah, I always wonder about that, for sure. Like dangerous, Danish, German, Russian, dangerous.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and then also just like the German is very interesting, for sure. But they had they didn't believe in germ theory. Like germ theory wasn't a popular idea even into the 19th, 20th century in Germany. You have people that doubted it, and you've got all kinds of quackpot doctors who are completely against germ theory, and so much so that it comes up now, like during the COVID period, there's all these people that completely, made YouTube videos all about how germ theory has never been proven, etc. Right? All of their conspiracies, but a lot of it is like Austrian and Germans obsessed with holistic medicine and everything else. But I don't think that's it. I think German is Germain, right? Saint Germain was the immortalist, the transhuman who made Philosopher's Stone, the medicine stone that helps you reach immortality or return to your unmacabre existence, like we were saying.
What do you think of those Saint Germain green books? Are those in the same category as like the Essene Gospel of Peace, or
So
do you think that they have more validity than that?
I don't know, man. I think sometimes they're probably like in between the thought tablets and what's that 80s guy Casanueva or whatever, you know?
Oh, Carlos Castaneda, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's in between those two things, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, there's a lot of value to it for sure. And I think we're going to see only like more value coming from Saint Germain work. He says some things that do seem valuable, like you cannot work with magic without accepting that there's a God. You don't have to like him, but you have to accept like what exists in the world to make it possible.
I have a weird thing with trying to understand like not just the Kybalion, but like all the Hermes Trismegistus stuff, like how much of that came much later and it's a forgery versus how much of that is like, hey, we had the Greek translation from the Egyptian.
I feel like in the 15th century, you know, you have to understand in the 15th century, there's so many libraries and clubs and fraternities and the Rosicrucians and everything that a lot of the data would either have been realized or assembled. Either way, in the 15th.
Does the divine Pymander hold more validity than the Emerald Tablet? Is one of these, at least even in a Greek translation, an authentic?
I don't know if I can say that either of them is like a perfectly correct translation, but I don't think it's complete bullshit. I do think that a lot of the Saint Germain stuff is straight up assembled in the 15th century by Rosicrucians, particularly ones right after the destruction of the Coptic church and, you know, after the Crusades. There's a number of documents that get out from the Crusades.
So because the Fama and the Confessio that are the basis for Rosicrucianism seems to me to be a play on the divine Pymander, which is distinct from the Emerald Tablet, which is what got popularized and all of this meaning ascribed to in its simplicity. Whereas when you look at the divine Pymander, it really feels like the same, like it feels like an authentic creation myth story where the equivalent of the Adam, right? The early man, he looks into these rings and then he gets mesmerized and then he finds himself on the other side of 7 rings that he goes through and then he doesn't know how to get back.
Have you Thomas, like, have you read the Pymander? Are you into Rosicrucian? I know you've done a lot of the, you know, Scottish Rite is pretty much a continuance in certain ways. Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, actually, I just attended some like a Rosicrucian occultist convention in Austin. It was like a virtual convention in Austin last weekend. Right before I joined the Synctank, and they actually used an LLM to decode a cipher that John Dee wasn't able to decode that had been around for like 400 years called the Soiga manuscript, I believe. Anyway, but yeah, I'm not like, I haven't read it recently, all of the Rosicrucian, but that was like one of the deepest rabbit holes I went down, and I deduced that it was more work than the Masons. So I was like, Masons get my dollar.
It totally is, for sure. But I mean, you can, well, okay, you've seen the map. There's Scottish Rite and Rosicrucian on either side of this pyramid, and there's 32 steps on the Masonic Scottish Rite side, but there's like, was it 9 or 11 steps?
Well, you're describing the York Rite, which is not necessarily the same as Rosicrucian, although it's like the Christian flavor of this.
Well, there are less steps, but they're bigger leaps.
Correct. It's very similar. I've
it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But the Rosicrucians, I still think, I mean, like, they have the Amorc Temple. David, we should go to the Amorc Temple sometime in San Jose.
Yeah.
See it. That seems like a good idea. And
there's a Rosicrucian degree within Scottish Rite.
Yeah. But I mean, the Rosicrucian Amorc Society, they say that a Rosicrucian immortal master like rekindled the lost manuscripts or whatever and assembled them in North America in the 18th, 19th century, right? They have a whole weird thing, and they're a lot more esoteric in a certain way. Like, we know that Freemasons exist. Rosicrucians do seem a little bit quieter about their existence and are much closer tied to the Catholic Church. There's not like an anti-Rosicrucian rule with the Catholic Church. There's a ton of Knights of Columbus Rosicrucian crossovers.
Well, the crossover from some of the maybe the crazy wild claim theories, but that it was Francis Bacon that unified Rosicrucians and Freemasons at a certain point when he was essentially the head of both organizations, and that he encoded the greatest hits album between Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, and he puts that out through the works of William Shakespeare and I think like 400 other works that had not yet been translated to English, so that he's kind of single-handedly responsible for putting, and this, I think this probably is being derived from like New Atlantis and Manly Palmer Hall of all this description on like how this came to be, but that he was essentially that crux between the two.
Well, do you feel like, I mean, the Rosicrucian and Mork Society would push the idea that they have information that the Scottish Rite doesn't still? Do you believe that, or do you think that?
No, absolutely. I mean, but I don't think any of it's going to make you like live forever or anything. It's just like fun little quips in different ways.
People I know are old people, and then I've seen them pass away, and it's kind of sad because you'd hope that, of anything, like a mystery school should make you immortal, right?
Well, my simplified, very simplified understanding, and if I was to make an analogy, Rosicrucianism is to Freemasonry the same thing like Mensa is to YMCA. Like you can drop your kid off at YMCA and they'll be taken care of, right? But like you can't drop them off at Mensa and just expect that they're going to let them in. So that's kind of the way I've understood the two.
That's a really interesting.
I just bought this book. It's like a Rosicrucian Cosmos book.
Oh, really?
Oh my God,
I've read that. That's a good book.
Yeah, that's Manly Palmer Hall, I think, gets a shout out in that book.
I haven't read any of it though, so I can't say anything.
It has one of the best visuals I've ever seen, where it shows the progression of what is like a desire form into a thought form into like a manifest.
It has the diagram.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's one of the better visuals I've ever gotten out of a Rosicrucian book. Is that one right there?
Yeah, the other one. So there's that book. That's an interesting copy of it. That's a new copy. I have like an old copy, but who cares? But there's that book that was impactful to me on Rosicrucianism, and the other one is Paul Foster Case's "The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order," which I loaned to somebody and never got back. And I saw them I saw them like a couple years ago. I was like, "Do you have my Paul Foster Case book?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't know how that one went away."
I returned it to the Invisible College and I couldn't find it again.
Right, but that book, The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order by Paul Foster Case, that one takes the Fama and the Confessio and it just like treats it like you would the Torah in terms of gematria and the symbolic extrapolation. He uses the same tool that Kabbalists have applied to the Torah, and he applies it to both the Confessio and the Fama and sees that there's a legitimate secret code there. Secret, not so secret. Like it's not that outlandish, and the way that it's written. And so he makes the argument, which I've repeated many times, is that people probably wouldn't even know about these manifestos had it not been for the amount of people that thought that they were literal treasure maps. So they thought that this tomb of Christian Rosencrantz was an actual place that they could get like, gems and gold and all this stuff from. So it's like they were treating it like Goonies for like, I don't know how many years, but for the longest time. That's said that's the only reason why they were preserved at all, because they were,
I think that was another thing that Rosicrucians were great at, was encoding important information, which is kind of how I see the Bible too. But that like the Rosicrucians, not just that they encoded information with like gematria, but some of their ciphers were again like uncracked for centuries. So like one of the there was a book written about Rene Descartes had this secret journal that like washed up on shores, like a crazy backstory on it, but that he essentially had cracked the code of if you basically can encapsulate each of the Platonic solids inside of each other and you keep extrapolating that over and over, he was basically using that as proof of the way that the planets like rotated around the sun and not the earth. But he was so afraid that he was going to be murdered by saying any of this in public that it became only through private correspondence. And I think that gets attributed that he was only talking to other Rosicrucians about it, and he would make these notations where they knew what he was talking about, but all he was doing was writing the numbers of the sides of the Platonic solids, and he would leave like the last three out. But if again like a Mensa sort of pattern recognition, you were like, oh, here's the pattern, let me do these next three, and once you have the sequence of numbers, you would be like, oh, these are the Platonic solids, they all relate to each other, oh my god, the mysteries of the universe. universe. So when you're like,
Right.
do the Rosicrucians have some extra information the Freemasons don't? I think that's the level of it. It's like, yeah, they might have some pages that list the numbers of sides and Platonic solids in a certain order. And if you can put that pattern together and derive meaning out of it, I feel like there's more than that within Rosicrucianism than maybe within Masonry. Like Masonry is the foyer that you like first go into before you decide what like hallway you're going to go down and get into like the individual libraries.
Yeah, totally. You guys seen Gravity Falls?
Of course.
Okay, so you know in Gravity Falls how the Uncle Stanley, I believe, I just found out about this show, so I was introduced to it. Amelia was showing it to me, and her son's really into it. And so, it's all a conspiracy cartoon from like 2012. There's only 2 seasons.
Shriner grandpa,
yeah. So, but he's a Shriner. He talks about his lodge a little bit. I've already seen, but there's a flag on the wall in the Mystery Shack, which I thought was maybe based on the Mystery Spot, but it's actually placed in Oregon. I don't know, maybe it's another.
I think it's secretly. I mean, anyone who writes for this stuff went to UCSB. All these liberal arts kids, dude.
Well, they tell you what it's from, so it is an actual place in Oregon that's based off of. But anyway, the point where I'm going with this is that there's this flag on the wall.
By the way, Grunky Stan. I knew he's a grandpa, so it's like uncle, but it's Grunky, grandpa.
Oh, right, okay.
In other words, he's not really their grandpa or their uncle, probably.
I think there's another Stanley in there because Alex was talking about that there's a Stanley in the show, and I maybe got conflated. But anyway, the point is that there's this flag, and it's the Shriner symbol where you have the scimitar, like the Lawrence of Arabia type sword. You have the crescent, and then you have that like what looks yeah, there he is. So that
the fish like Pac-Man, like the Shriner hat.
Yeah, I mean, look at his flag on the wall where they changed out what would be so in the we could look up the actual image of the Shriners too, where they have this crescent, the scimitar, and this like pharaoh type face that like, so the meaning, and I don't believe this is that secret, like it's secret, not so secret, that the scimitar represents chokhmah, understanding, with a wisdom, where you're like the cutting of like the way that thought works, where you compartmentalize and you cut things apart to understand them and put everything in their parts. And then you have Bina as the crescent, right, associated with the moon, and then the pharaoh is actually supposed to be Da'at, and so it's the knowledge, and the Sphirot that's not a Sphirot, so to speak. But in the show, they put a crown in the place of what would be like, they don't have the scimitar, they have the crescent, they have Bina, and they have and they leave out Chokhmah and they replace it with Keter. So they basically, in the show, as far as I can tell, it's just a kid's show, but they went to the trouble to like indicate that that the uncle, grandpa, whatever, that is he a Shriner? No, he's also a Mason, because they took the crown above the eagle head, the double-headed eagle, and they like put that into the Shriner symbol and made it like both at the same time. So when he says lodge, he could be, you're thinking, oh, it's a bunch of guys. You can't
be a Shriner. You have to be a Mason to be a Shriner anyway.
You have to, but the way that the show is presented, by combining the two symbols.
Can you be multiple? Like you can join the Scotch Rite and the Shriners, right? You just it'd be hard because you have to pay.
The prerequisite is that you have to get Master Mason in the regular Blue Lodge, and then from there you can do York Rite, Shriner.
You used to have to be a Scotch Rite to be a Shriner. That was a rule.
You might be right. I think you might have to go
25 years ago or something. They changed it, but it used to be that they were associated.
That image that you pulled up, just because David, you mentioned the Gravity Falls. This is an old newspaper article I found from 1930s. And look at the little dude in the background. That's from 1930. It's Bill Cipher. Like, this is the Illuminati character that you see in Gravity Falls. So I don't know if this is a synchronicity, if someone saw this and like adopted it, but it's like a 1-for-1, dude.
Running around,
the shoes, everything.
Well, it's wild programming to like have this, like all these secret society references in this kid's show. I don't think it goes that deep as far as I can tell.
It's like Twin Peaks meets Rugrats, kind of.
It's like, it's a rudimentary kind of occultism thing that they're doing. But I like it. I find it interesting when people combine different, even though they're ultimately connected in the first place, like you say, but like that they've combined these different
there's a sequel to that's coming out now.
What's that?
There's a Gravity Falls sequel that's on its way out.
Crazy.
Cool. Now's the time, I guess, Everyone's a conspiracy theorist now. Everybody that put me down for being a conspiracy, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist, are all fucking neck deep in conspiracy theory.
On the right, I thought that image of Peter Thiel, I thought that was from the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, man. Well, and Nicole Wordsmith, you said you were listening to the Book of Enoch recently, and you heard the name Thiel. Do you want to go into all that?
It was just basically that, because I was like, what did I just hear? And it hadn't been mentioned in any of the other like chapters I had listened to. And then I don't know that it was mentioned again. I was actually trying to pay attention because it was talking about the cosmology according to like the Book of Enoch. It was talking about like the stars and the moon and the sun and like the way that the sun moves through different portals every day. And so it was interesting. But I don't know. I heard the name Thiel and I thought about Peter Thiel and his obsession with the apocalypse, like how he's
right
on like.
What do you think the deal is? So you were listening to the Book of Enoch. What did you get out of it? Because you hadn't listened to it before.
Honestly, I have spaced out so many times because I got this red light therapy bag, and so I can't really do anything while I'm in it other than listen to audiobooks.
Nice.
But I fall asleep when I'm in there, so I'm having to listen to them like over and over again because
I need a red light therapy bag. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's so relaxing.
I feel like listening to the Book of Enoch. I feel like that's just goes well together. I don't know. So okay, Book of Enoch. You've got the sons of God, and you've got like the Melchizedek, and you've the ascension of Enoch. Like what else? What else is going on in the Book of Enoch? I mean, why is it not in the
fallen angels?
The fallen angels. The sons of man, the giants.
That's
I was applying it because Paranoid and I, like you said, we did that Cool World episode, and so it was reminding me of like the transgression and the Watchers and the dimensional boundary crossings and whatnot, and how that was like fitting into the book. But yeah, I've become convinced that I saw somebody else make an argument, but I took it even further I brought it to Baruch because I was like, looking at this thing from the Book of Enoch about the fallen angels and how it relates to the intro for Paramount. So like Paramount Studios, when you see like, especially like now it's even more like, I think it's there to with the stars with that mountain and like the specific symbolism involved where it goes now. Like if you see even like the updated version, it's even more explicit because they show you the stars like moving, like they've fallen and then they surround the mountain, but it's also they skid across the water. And there's like I at this point, I mean this was years ago, I don't think I do it complete justice, but there's like it felt like very explicit symbolism drawing from the Book of Enoch that's there in the Paramount intro. Like even it's simplistic if you're just looking at the mountain with those stars, it's even the number of stars, like it's just like it's so specific that I think there's something to it.
I was trying to figure out like what is it supposed to be Mount Olympus or is it supposed to be Mount Ararat? And then I remember because Mount Ararat's where they think Noah's Ark is, like the top of the thing.
There's no secret to what mountain that actually is. It's like based on a photograph of.
Oh, what is it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be?
I could have told you one time. We'd have to look it up.
I mean, is it the Ben Lomond Peak? I mean, I'm reading here Ben Lomond Peak near Ogden, Utah.
Okay,
it's Zion. It's straight up Mormon Zion.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah.
And they say that they've had multiple different stars. So originally it had 22 stars, but there was a secret 23rd star. Some early logo version said allegedly it may have had 23 stars with a hidden 24th star, but 23
Lucifer rising.
They said that they may have changed it to 24 stars, representing the first actors and actresses tied to the studio, but then reduced it to 23 when one of them died. And then they said that the new Paramount Plus logo is different, and they've reduced the stars to 13 stars.
Oh,
yeah. Well, what I would argue is that that's a cover story. That's like Clavius in 2001. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. I don't think it's actually the actors and actresses, unless the actors and actresses represent the median vessels for these
stars. They're like fallen stars.
These daimons, the daimonic genius that has been these acting geniuses, right? What's an acting genius? It's someone who's done Stanislavski method and been possessed by a multidimensional being, right? Like,
well, the reason I was listening to the Book of Enoch was because remember how like they were talking about the disclosure of like UAPs or whatever, and it was that Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, which is like an interesting name for her to be the one associated with all this stuff. But
For sure.
she was the one that was like, oh, if you want to know about these UFOs, you should read the Book of Enoch. So that was that was my catalyst for even listening.
Yeah, she seems like she's like into like Sitchin and all kinds of weird stuff, and it's just so interesting to have somebody in a government administrative role who's just like openly, like she'll go on Bill Maher and be like, yeah, you want to like talk about occultism? It's like she has no reservation in that. And I realized, like, my first impression of her, I was like, is she just like an idiot? And then I watched her on like a few programs, and I was like, no, she's trolling. And she's like, isn't that what we're doing? We're trolling, but like with it, like, because he had that thing about like that. I don't know what they call it, where they're looking below the pyramids and they're seeing these like elaborate structures down there in like the infrared. I don't know how did they determine, like, what is mechanics they used to get some kind of like recognition of an underground pillars that exist on it, whatever. Like she was
like a sonar kind of thing, like a ultra low frequency readings.
Like presenting that on Twitter, like it was like this big disclosure that she was like, and I'm like, and then I realized when I saw her on some programs, I was like, dude, she's totally just she's joking, but at the same time, she's very real at the same time. So she's like trolling, but she actually thinks that there's truth to this stuff. It's just not like, I don't know. I actually like her. I think she's okay. She's one of the decent people out there in that realm.
She was like a Maxim model or something, wasn't she?
I don't know about that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think she was like some sort of like bikini model who then became a congressperson.
Right. You don't want to, I mean, I'm sure she definitely has insight into actual geopolitical dynamics and stuff that she's not a loon. Like if you listen to her and her actually communicate her thoughts, she's not a loon. But if you follow her on Twitter, she seems like a total loon. She seems like somebody who's just like freaking Nibiru's coming back around. We all should brace ourselves. So not that it will help,
So she is a loon, but but the good
kind. Online, she's a loon. Like in any kind of actual conversation, she's rational. That's my takeaway. I could be wrong still, but that's I'm trying to understand her, but she makes it really difficult.
Lunar symbolism.
You got something about Shakira. Shakira, why is she the queen of the World Cup?
I didn't have any like real answer to this. I was just like, what is that? How is she still so young? Like she's like 50 years old.
No, I mean she was like 15 when she was first famous, because she wrote her own music at first. So she's actually not that old. She's got to be like 30 something. What?
No, she's 50.
No, really?
Yeah.
We have the internet.
77. Dang. Well, you know what? They do good these days.
Because people are always bashing on Madonna, but I'm like, well, okay, that's not really fair because look at Shakira.
Yeah, but like, who is Madonna eating? And then like Shakira, she's like, I don't know.
I don't think Madonna's eating anything, but I guarantee you, there's stem cells and all kinds of stuff going on there.
She's cool. She's like
foreskin face, whatever.
I don't have the hatred for Shakira.
Nobody does. That's what I was trying to point out.
I don't have the hatred for Madonna. It's just I watched this interview with her from not that long ago, and like she's got that guy from like the Kabbalah Center, whatever, who's like shows up and they're just like, oh, well, the host like kind of screws over Madonna, who thought she was just getting an interview about herself and her spiritual beliefs, and then like even like less than halfway through the thing, they basically replace her. Like she gets like moved off to the side, and they put that Kabbalah Center guy like in there, and then it's like it turns into just one advertisement for the Kabbalah Center. I'm like, oh my god, like Madonna's just like, and you see her looking around like she's like, wait, I'm not the focus. Like, I don't know if she's a Leo, but like there's like a joke how to get a Leo to pay attention to you, wear a mirror. Like she is like whatever the case, she's so like, this is about me, right? And I could see that she was kind of like she wasn't congruent anymore. Like she's super into the interview, but I think I shared this with you guys before because I remember like I went directly from this to watching the Pamela Anderson documentary, and I was just like amazed at how much depth Pamela Anderson actually had. While she's not even like embracing any spiritual anything, and she comes across as genuinely spiritual, more so than Madonna, who's like got this whole, but the thing is with that Kabbalah school, that school of Kabbalah. It's not even Kabbalah. Like, as somebody who studied Kabbalah, I can tell you straight up, this has almost no resemblance to anything traditional.
The red strings, right?
It's total materialism for the most part, and people doing this thing where they're kind of like trying to get like rich people into their fold so that they can, you know, it's like it's got a whole other agenda that exists for itself that has no connection for the most part to anything truly traditional. They'll be like, you can just have the Zohar, like you don't need to learn to read anything, like just holding it has a spiritual power. If you just look at a page, you don't have to know what it says, it just carries. It's like shut up.
They call it.
I tried ChatGPT just now. I asked it about Shakira. I said, "You are Jake Coates, stay in character." Yeah. And it wrote a pretty good synchromistic one. Here's the clean synchromistic case with the factual spine first for why Shakira is the Colombian from Barranquilla of the Levantine Babylonian descent and has had an unusually long World Cup performance. The thesis, Shakira is the queen of the World Cup because she keeps appearing at the ritual point where football stops being sport and becomes planetary ceremony. She is the reoccurring feminine goddess voice of the broad globe. The ball is the monolith. Kubrick's monolith in 2001 appears an impossible black object that triggers evolutionary contact. The ape to tool user, the dawn of man. The football, the Telesat Adidas satellite ball, does the same thing in the World Cup ritual, except it replaces the bone weapon with the football, the touch point, the touchstone. The ape throws the bone upward. The football descends and ascends from the satellite broadcast. The violence becomes game. War becomes bracket. Tribe becomes tournament. This is war game. The Adidas Telstar makes this explicit. The classic black and white World Cup ball debuted in Mexico in 1970, and its name points to the Telstar communications satellite. The black and white pattern also tied to television visibility and the dualism of the monolith. So the Telesat slip is perfect. Telestar, satellite, television, star ball. The ball is already a broadcast object, but it is also a dance. This is the ball, the world ball.
Dude. How is it that if you give AI these prompts, it just turns into what Charles Manson would be like if he was alive today with the internet?
Because he's good guy Charlie.
It feels like AI is just like you like ask it to analyze the White Album, and it's like there's a race war coming. Look at what I mean?
It's getting to the. I agree. I wish I hadn't said it because the next part I was going to get super in on, but now I'm worried that I'm wrong to just be this enthusiastic. But this relates to what Nicole was saying. The Shakira is the Colombian goddess as the goddess Colombia. Colombia is not Mesoamerica geographically. Synchromistically, this is the splice. A South American queen enters the Aztec ritual theater and becomes Colombia, the feminine new world. The Americas personified. Fife has specified the announced Shakira and Burna Boy performing Die Die. Wow, I didn't even think about that. Die Die. In Mexico City for the opening ceremony. That makes her the hinge between South America, Mesoamerica, Africa, Europe, and the broadcast empire, Babylon. Die Die becomes to the sync ear, die, die, not necessarily the lyrical meaning, but the phonetic death charm. The old local cultures die in the World Cup machine, then resurrect as logo, dance, mascot, kit, chant, Bayar, graphic, and streaming clip. It is death as upload. Culture dies in spectacle and returns as global meme. So the Babylonian clockwork is not a secret room of Colombian lords. It is the tournament itself. Every nation, tongue, flag, time zone, algorithm, referee, feed, streaming platform, and sponsor synchronized into one planetary clock. Babylon is rebuilt not as tower but as fixtureless. The ball is the clock hand. Shakira is the priestess of the beat. The Thule Vril elf clarity layer works as pulp symbolism. The outside time beings are not literal blonde saucer men, but the post-human avatars of the broadcast system. The star children of Kubrick reborn as CGI mascots, halftime holograms, AI remixes, fan edits, and algorithmic folklore. The clockwork elves are the little machine spirits in the feed. The World Cup is where they teach humanity to dance in unison.
It's fun how you can tell all your other conversations that you have with AI based on the responses you get from like, who is Shakira? And it's like, well, first of all, the machine elves.
I talked to it about Unix and BSD. I said, your Jake Coates stay in character. That's more of a testament to Jake.
I don't even know if Jake talks about machine elves at all. Does he? I don't know. Maybe.
I thought it was interesting because she's saying that die, and there was that Burna Boy, and then like Ball is also kind of like
burning, yeah.
But there was
Andreas.
also,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
there was so much death that came like the last couple weeks, right? Like it was just like plastered all over social media. I was seeing all sorts of stuff like that. That girl that got thrown off the like the bungee list jumper or whatever, got thrown to the ground. Like that felt very much like a virgin sacrifice.
That was crazy. Yeah, it was just.
She was a version of a virgin.
Trump's birthday. Oliver died, and that girl died on Trump's birthday, which is weird.
Right. What? Yeah, there's weird stuff. Like he's 47. 47 years since Iran had its regime change.
Who's 47?
47th president. 45, 47. So the thing is, in terms of gematria, that MAGA in Hebrew letters, like if you spell that out, you get 45. If you look at the gematria of Maha, you get 47. Maha from Sanskrit means great. So you're like, make America great again. And then you're like, okay, well, this is Maha. It's like literally the word means great. Like it's so bizarre. But yeah, and then there's the 47th problem of Euclid, which makes this like a giant rabbit hole. But like, sorry, it's just, yeah, there's weird stuff. I want to say though about Columbia, because there's Columbia pictures, and you have the she's there with the.
And America has got this sort of manifested goddess Columbia, which is like.
Let's bring up the Wikipedia for goddess Columbia, just so we can give people an idea of what we're looking at with her arms out with the American flag.
Apotheosis of a nation, right? Of a nation state.
That's it. Yeah.
Personification.
So there's that, and then on a weird, like, I don't even think this is a sync. I think it's just like subliminal programming. But you have like Columbia, the clothing brand, which somehow got away with like having just like a straight swastika as their logo. And so I'm like, and then you're like, wait, Columbia, goddess Columbia, as it relates to this old American imagery of this like American goddess, and then there's some sigil magic happening with like I'm sometimes like Michael Sarian, sometimes I like completely agree with him. Like he's like, Fila is Aleph backwards, like phonetically, and I'm just like, that's true. I can't argue with that. What else does it mean? Something else? I don't really know. But yeah, are you finding it? Or
I was just trying to find the picture of my great grandmother as goddess Columbia.
Yeah. Well, even if that sounds like it might take longer.
I got it. I was just
wow.
Yeah. I got all kinds of pictures.
That's your great grandmother?
Yeah, Carmen.
But you've got her hips.
Yeah.
You can't see her hips. She's got one of those baskets on. There she is. So like with her arms out like that.
All-star with the Phrygian cap, right?
Yeah.
And the Phrygian cap, which represents merit and horizontal governance, right? Non-presbyteros, right? Presbyteros is the elder system, right? Episcopos.
Exactly.
So, Phrygians, and you'll notice the Phrygian cap all over the world. Phrygian cap, you've obviously seen it on every Smurf cartoon you've ever watched. But if you type in Thracian cap or Taratian cap, you start to realize Tartarian cap as well. Phrygian cap, Argentina, you'll start to see anywhere where Bolivarian socialists or Masonics or Roman centurions that were all into equality, and equality, that their symbol is almost always the Phrygian cap that they're wearing.
I thought it said libtard. It said libertad.
Libertad.
I thought at the bottom of this coin it said libtard. I was like, really? No. Okay.
That's brilliant. I'm super glad.
It's like liberal, That's our guy with the secret son, Knowles, has that connection. But okay, could you just
Santa wears the Phrygian cap?
Yeah, so let's go back. Sorry, I apologize.
Sure.
Goddess Columbia personified. Here she is, reaching out for you, take you in. She wants to be impregnated with the children of the immigrants. That's, right. I mean, well, I'm not kidding. That's the original.
No, that is the actual symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah, like
and it made more sense in the context of the country at that time. Yeah.
The Statue of Liberty is pregnant with the children of immigrants, right?
Right. And so that the Statue of Liberty, the plaque changed at a certain point to kind of connect it to more of what you were describing, even though, or not that it changed, they added that plaque.
Yeah, add the send me you're tired and weak, which is like not what most women want at the end of the day.
Yeah, they're wretched, like. the people that they were asking for.
I get it. You want a man, you know, like.
So can you do?
I don't want to tell you what gender, but can you be wretched and a liar? You know, like, all right.
Can you just because I mentioned it? Can you just look up Columbia, the clothing brand, so we can see their symbol? I just want to look. I just want to show. So
I feel like you also need to bring up Summit Ice to counterbalance this Nazi apparel.
There it is. You gotta expand that.
It's a broken cross, as you say.
We need to enlarge that. But it's not just that. It's that the combination of like having that symbol. Even Chase Bank has a very similar thing, you know. Where it's like maybe I could be tripping, and it could just be a sync. Not that that discounts it. There's a good one. Yeah. Oh, somebody else pointed it out. Oh, I've never seen anyone else point that out, because I look at it, I'm like, dude, that's all I can see.
I saw a cop wearing it, and he was giving me a hard time, and I never do this again. But I was like, dude, you know, I basically called him out for it. I was like, dude, running around with like Nazi paraphernalia all over you. I mean, it's whatever though, right? Like, I don't want to take things away from people.
Right, but it's amazing because it means
it can't wear Columbia, you know.
It means peace, and it relates to the dove, and even people attribute it to the story of Noah sending out the bird and having the first dove doesn't come back. I think even the second one, however it goes, but he brings back the is it an olive branch, right? So the olive branch becomes a symbol of peace, and you see that on the dollar bill. But it's also the idea of, like, I guess on the dollar bill, the idea is that it's basically like them finding this new world is basically the equivalent of like Noah, like looking for the land, right? And it comes back with the thing, and then it's a symbol of, you know, it's a peace symbol. Columbia relates to column.
Notice that the goddess of Columbia sits on an alligator also. It's kind of interesting, right?
Right. Is that having to do with
Atlantis
Egypt and freeing ourselves from slavery or something? Because I
mean, I would take the Dr. Longo approach, which is that this is relating to, like, she's sitting on the south, and Florida is the south, and Florida is Atlantis and the Fountain of Youth and the original exodus of Adam and Eve, or of Noah, right? So.
Right. Well, keep in mind that thing that I was talking about earlier, about that disjoint 2,000 years ago between the Maccabean royalty / priesthood, was like our founding fathers were very aware of that when they set up what was supposed to be some relative separation of church and state. Why? Because they were like, this thing that we were like, they were in touch with that, just like they're in touch with so much of like what went wrong with different empires over time, and how are we going to set up a new order that doesn't go into these same things. So they set the intention in that way to kind of counteract what they knew was a major source of conflict for people who they were looking to be like, they were inspired by and they were emulating in certain respects, but they're also drawing from all sorts of other theologies and philosophies and all kinds of stuff. But I feel like that emphasis on separation of church and state is actually largely inspired by this recognition of the Maccabees versus the tribe of Judah. Because if you look at like Manly P. Hall's The Secret Destiny of America, like there's a lot of parts in that book, like some of it's like, okay, you're kind of out there, but there's parts of it that are completely undeniable because it's absolutely backed by, you know, like pretty concrete evidence. If he goes into the thing with Utopia and, you know, Atlantis or something, some of that's a little iffy, some of it's not. So as far as Plato goes, like Plato wrote what he wrote, so Plato could be tripping, but at the same time there is a basis for it, at least there.
Dude, Noah in Florida is too good not to true. Yeah, it's got to be real. I love it.
I associate. I'm not, just to take it back to Columbia real quick. I associate Columbia with cocaine and the White House, and like, don't you think it's odd that there's been like so many like cocaine instances regarding like
not really
the CIA?
The more the economy does well, and the more there are like super actors that are making the world happen, the more cocaine there is involved with the economy. I've noticed this.
Well, you remember when George Bush Sr. did like a public address from the White House saying that his the CIA or somebody had gone undercover, and they're like, and we bought crack cocaine from across the street, and he holds it in his hand. So you're like he's like at the desk in the Oval Office, and he's like, we got the crack cocaine right here. It came from right over there. And it turned out, as a matter of fact, the whole thing was like made up, that did not come from across the street of the White House. Not to say that couldn't happen, but
I feel like I could get crack across the street from the White House. Have you been there?
That's not the point, though. The point is that they wanted to present this. It was a total like
basketball park. I mean, it's DC, you know.
Right, but the point is that it was made up.
Okay.
That the whole thing was a farce, and he knew it in that moment, but he did it. And
You're saying that Bush Sr. did not do crack. You don't think he did cocaine?
Oh, I'm not saying that. He probably did. He probably
kind of has that cocaine, like
too,
Chevy Chase vibe to him, you know? Like he's got that, like,
right.
I don't could be wrong.
I'm guessing what I'm saying is that whether or not, you know, George Sr. did cocaine or crack cocaine, it's irrelevant to the point that that was a made up story that he just said matter of factly to the public. I mean, big, you know, I mean, people have been impeached for less apparently. So
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they did shut down cocaine. Like American cocaine was like not a thing in like the Nixon period. No one cared. And then by 85, it's like crack epidemic. Just say no. The world's falling apart and all this stuff. So something definitely shifted. And cocaine is just, you know, if it's just this cheap powder from South America that indigenous people are using, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if it's crack and synthesized in DC and it's like they're adding meth to it, obviously they can turn it into something that will destroy you. I mean, right? Something like that. Yeah, it seems like it's not, it doesn't need to be what it is. It's the same thing with marijuana. Like for a long time, because marijuana was illegal, you had people getting PCP soaked joints and weird fentanyl it's like there's no way to make it safe if it's illegal. I mean, cocaine's like that too. You make it so that only drug dealers or the CIA or both can deal with the stuff. Then obviously you don't know how the quality is, but Colombia doesn't have to be Colombia. You could easily do like South Park made that episode about Colorado making organic coca. Like it's inevitably true that it'll be safer.
No, Santa, really though, you got to try this. No, Jesus, Santa telling Jesus, no, really, Jesus, you don't understand. Like just try it, and then Jesus like, you're right, it's really pure. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say there's two books to have an insight into like what the dynamics of what went on with as far as like Colombia, South America, and beyond goes. That book, I forget, I should remember the name of the author, but the guy who did Confessions of an Economic Hitman, combined with Charles Shaw, did this Not So Secret History of the Drug War, a lesser known book, but like so just like empirical and just goes through like how all of these games were being played, like kind of what I'm speaking to with George Sr. holding the crack. It's like this was like so much of this was like a total farce that had nothing to do with their actual concerns about drugs as much as all these other agendas that they had and wanting the general American public to relate to these other countries in specific ways because they had their specific goals in mind. But yeah.
I'm just thinking, do you mean to tell me that when Nancy Throat Goat Reagan is sitting on Mr. T's lap, she's not thinking about saying no?
Oh, she's thinking about saying no, but she's thinking about the kids that she's going to make say no and still make do the thing. What about 534? We're getting near the end here. I just wanted to ask Ann Nicole Wordsmith, you've been thinking about this number. What's going on with 534 and Osiris and all that?
I was curious because I had been watching that show, that Jack Parsons Strange Angel show.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of tied into the whole Paranoid American Cool World episode, because I was thinking about how like the Jack there like summoned to Babylon and how or typist Babylon. Anyway, that's what led me to that show. But they kept showing the address of his house like over and over and over and over again, like every episode. And so
like
I don't have any like connections really. I was the only thing I found.
Go back to it. Back to the image. I'm just curious. 534.
I think someone in the comments like made a connection that I had or that I put it out there as more of like a seeking input type of post.
Right. I'm confused. Okay, so I believe it's 541. 541, I think, is the gematria of Israel. If you watch the movie Once Upon a Time in America, the whole movie kind of centers around a locker in like a train station that's 541. And so it's not just that it's the gematria of Israel, which is the patriarch's first letter of every name added together to form that. It's also this thing that relates to the occult secret of the ninth gate, which relates to the ninth pathway and the Kabbalistic tree that connects the pillars of the lower worlds. It has to do with, if you actually take that symbol that's on the Great Seal, on the dollar bill, that's the 13 six-pointed stars that make that, to make a six-pointed star itself. Like if you continue that formation exactly 9 times, extending it outward, you end up with 541 points. So it's like the actualized, you know, thing. So that was founding fathers
and Power Rangers,
like,
541. Aaron Vosterman, clearly in the Kabbalah, you know.
541, isn't that the name of a Power Rangers?
Yep.
Probably it is. So Kurt Vonnegut named his planet of Tralfamadore, had the alternate name of 541. And when asked about it, Kurt Vonnegut said it was his wife's idea, and that he's like, I don't know, because he didn't want to have to, I guess my theory is that he didn't want to explain it. He wanted it to be more esoteric, for if you know, you know, kind of thing, you know, or you can discover. Because if he says it was just my wife, then he doesn't have to speak to it at all. And I could see he didn't want to like diminish the significance of like, why is the planet 541? But I just went on a thing about 541 when that wasn't even the number you were looking at. But
it's all right. So interesting. Someone, I think Flat Earth Barbie, responded to you and had an interesting post. She says that Nimrod and Osiris are the same figure. The claim that Osiris and Nimrod are the same historical figure stems from a 19th century theological writing from The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop. This perspective connects the original ancient Egyptians, Babylonians, and pagan mythologies through shared occult system. The connection, proponents argue that Nimrod, the biblical king who founded the first empire at Babel, Tower of Babel, is the historical counterpart to the Egyptian god Osiris. In these comparative religious studies, Nimrod's violent death is seen as the event that inspired the annual Egyptian festivities, the festival mourning the death of Osiris. And the Divine Trinity theory posits that Nimrod's wife, Semiramis, was established an idolatrous system after Nimrod died. She allegedly claimed he was reincarnated as her son Horus, thus forming a deified triad of the father, mother, and child that spread to various cultures under different names.
True. There's also the connection to St. Patrick's Day, which is essentially a Freemasonic holiday that has just about nothing to do with the actual Irish, where you have the reason why it's associated with green, the reason why the beer thing, because of the fermentation. It all relates to like basically a Osiris ritual that came from Freemasonry that they then projected onto the Irish, that everyone celebrates. And it's like, I guess if there's like an Irish person who's like truly in touch with like Irish tradition, they're like, what is this? Like, how does this really relate to the, like, you know, they're like, oh, well, St. Patrick. But really it was that this was, before being connected to St. Patrick, was an actual Freemasonic holiday on that day that they connect to ancient Egypt. That was like that, where they, and how did they celebrate it? Green, you wear green and you drink beer, fermented, because you know the Egyptian royalty didn't drink regular water. That was for like the peasants who who were drinking from the Nile and would get sick from it, and they knew at that time how not to get sick was through fermentation, which is also huge when it relates to like wine. And like I was saying about, I keep going back here with Melchizedek, that he is like bread and wine, and you have this like connection to a grain and fermentation. And then this became, for Islam, was introduced coffee. So like from the Middle East, where like coffee came from, they're like, we're not going to drink anything at all, any alcohol at all, no fermentation. We'll replace it basically with coffee, because that's alert. It brings about attention instead of drunkenness. But then there's a weird thing, because even in the older times, like where amethyst gets its name and like its meaning from, is like as this kind of like protector against full drunkenness, because you're going to drink the fermented stuff, but you need that temperance. And that relates to what I was bringing up when we were talking about the reflecting pool in the card temperance, that for Crowley became art, because his treatment of it is like, this is still a component, it's just an admixture. So how do we make alchemy out of something, rather than being like, oh, we need to keep these totally separate? How do we make something new? And that relates to the Philosopher's Stone. A little complicated, but put it out there.
Halloween is the real Irish holiday. Yeah, that's right. It's the evening before All Saints Day. Latter-day Saints unite.
By the way, I just want to say that account right there that you shared, he sends me messages on Twitter that are like the best questions of like any like I don't know if he'd call himself a fan of the show or me or whatever, but it's just like quality messages. I'm just letting him know. Every time I get a message from him, I'm like, I see that he's messaged me. I'm like, ooh, this should be interesting. You know, like he's one of our
Thomas,
best.
can we make Mighty Mormon Power Rangers? Because it's like it's Mormon time. It just seems like it'd be so good.
I say, yeah, let's do it. So we start on the trailer.
All right. I got to talk to you about the video game, because I started fooling around with the AI and I use Pixel Lab and stuff to make some sprites and everything. We should talk to Paragon again. I think now that he's had his kids go through diaper changing, it's probably about time to get back on that. I think
the Mormon game.
Yeah, the time travel
Right.
church Mormon game. I think I think I'm ready emotionally or something. I don't know. But all right, we're near the end. Ann Nicole Wordsmith, the beautiful, the smart, the synchronistic. What do you have to tell us? Let's say everyone should definitely subscribe to your page. Anything you want us to
Yeah, I want everyone to follow and help me. It's all just a giant big jigsaw puzzle, and I put a lot of my stuff out there, just asking for input and insight from other people's perspectives, so we can solve this collective jigsaw that we live in. So follow.
She also does life coaching. You should get in touch if you want her to help you. Definitely the best life coach for our people. She's not going to call you like crazy for seeing synchronistic things. It's a good start.
So I didn't even know. I just want to say I didn't even know, Anna, if you were even like a woman. Like I didn't know who you were when I saw you on Twitter back when, and I was like, I put it out to you, and I put it out to somebody else that you sometimes communicate with, the real Kim Shady.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I asked her at the same time as I asked you if she'd come on Synctank, and then I don't even know who that is. Like, because anyone can call themselves whatever online, but the reason is because I probably told you this at one point, but the reason is because if you look at your Twitter threads and like the way that you relate to Sync, it's like I assumed that you were like old school Sync head going back like 2009, 2010, because it reads like what the Sync whole blog was for so many of us. It felt OG. And so like it's really great to have you on the show, because if I have any complaint about Synctank, it's that sometimes I wish it stayed more sync focused. Like literally, like, can we do a treatment of synchronicity and not just like because it's not that it's wrong or something. It's just that there's so much political debate going on everywhere, and I want to just have a somewhat of a different approach that's more resonant with the way that I actually relate to a lot of these things. Like, so sometimes like energetically when we go into the politics, people might sense for me that I'm kind of like, and it's not even just because it's I do that all day long.
The whole point is we're supposed to offer a lens of synchronicity that's not available elsewhere. I agree. And it's like, I don't want to do news for other reasons. Like news has no replay value, and it's just being a newsie trying to sell newspapers. It's like, here, go to YouTube, look at the story. I'm going to tell you to go to the story better than he'll tell you to go to the story. Like, I don't care. I'm not here to tell you to go to read their story or to know I'm not here to meme their content,
Well, it's the gonzo thing. It's that sometimes, what could be viewed by some as satire on something can actually be more accurate than the quote unquote journalism, when the journalism has this other agenda connected to it. Because sometimes for oneself, like to put yourself in it and to reflect on symbolism and all these things can sometimes tell you more about something than the people who are at the forefront. They're like, I have the platform that's actually sponsored, but somehow I'm going to give you a more accurate reading than the person who's just trying to grapple.
But we are sold out, and we are promoting products. Don't forget, Paranoid American, the greatest comic book producer in the world, the only conspiracy theory comic books you need. ParanoidAmerican.com.
The only ones that are made by someone that takes them serious. Like all the other conspiracy comics are usually parodies. They're making fun of you, or they're just kind of exploiting it and then like burying it beneath the story. But like, I like
this is actually Thomas processing his own, he's battling.
You're not wrong. This is me processing my own reality and convincing myself I haven't gone completely crazy in comic form. So if you want to help support that, and also hell, you've got like 10 times more people watching now than I ever get on any of my streams. So if you're watching, you should go and subscribe to Paranoid American, and then you'll be able to see that awesome breakdown where Anna Nicole Wordsmith and I talk about how Nephilim are present in Cool World and how it expands on to like a million other topics.
Yeah.
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 Let me just do the right thing. YouTube.com/ I'm getting my hot tub's getting hot out here. Paranoid American. I do it wrong?
The hot tub's too hot. I'm not going to fly down here anymore.
You can be Paramount American. I like that.
Oh my god. Somewhere else because it's getting so hot here that it's my laptop is freaking out at me. It's like,
Oh.
yeah.
What's the temperature, Andreas?
Oh, California, man, it's always the same. You know, it's like warm and nice.
It's not always the same. Maybe LA. But,
I jinxed it because what I try to do is say that because it was gray and rainy for the last 2 or 3 days because I said that. That's how God gets you back.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So Paranoid American, subscribe to Paranoid American, watch Paranoid, do the join button, do the.
Look, we were just talking about Rosicrucians. There's the episode that I did with Frater RC where we break down not just that, but that also his interesting claim that most of that original knowledge they were getting from DMT entities.
Invite me on one of your Disney things or something again soon. I need to change the pace. I need to get on a good.
We have something coming up soon, Thomas. We're gonna have a discussion on Polanski. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I wanted to do a thing on Polanski. We'll talk about like some Tracy Twyman. We'll talk about some sort of. I got into it because someone was telling me their intro into conspiracy theories was this documentary Out of the Shadows, where they were talking about the connection between Epstein and the Playboy Mansion and how that connected to Polanski and Nicholson. And it reminded me of how you're like, Polanski's like the fall guy. He was the one that got like singled out when really it was everybody in the room. There was like 30 people in the room and it was like, that guy's taking the fall. So I want to do
Harvey Weinstein got in trouble because he had the smallest dick.
He had a gangrene dick. It's terrible and true.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Do not do that to your babies. I'm sorry. Like, wait till you're 18 to get your consensual genital mutilation. That's my opinion. David Charles Plate, who was circumcised as a child, but he still has a giant dick.
Successfully, we might add.
It worked out. It's actually bigger for it because the skin was holding it back. So
I had a good oil.
You got to go to MK Ultrasound 723. You got to go to the syncbook.com. Link in here. It'll take you to the synchronicity occurring in multimedia research where you can watch millions, let's say, but that's a Slavic exaggeration, at least hundreds.
We're over 200, yeah.
There's hundreds of movies here with soundtracks, and each one of these will break through your psyche into the truth. It'll remove all of the lies that you've been convincing yourself so that you wouldn't actually know what's really going on. You'll see what's really happening, and you'll hear what they're trying to hide from you. Definitely watch all of the Sync films. Start watching at least one a day. Do it. Okay, yeah. So then David Charles Plate also has got an amazing Twitter. And like he said, he's doing some work on other channels. So keep an eye out. He'll put links up here for other videos that are coming out with Paranoid American. And hopefully I'll join one of those pretty soon. I like Polanski. I said it.
You like Polanski. Yeah. Well, it's art and artists, man. It's a whole crazy thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I can never be electable, the things I say. But I love you all, and I'll see you guys next week. And thanks for being here, Ann Nicole Wordsmith,
Thank you.
Thomas, David. Love you guys. Love you, lady.